Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Hello, children, and welcome to the first show 2021. Well, technically Saturday, I guess, was. Yesterday it was for rules. But this is the first show. No, this is not going to be the No Fat Chicks show. Sorry to disappoint you. I got to stick to topic on this one. We're going to talk about sexual market value once again in that series. However, with today, we're going to talk about attachment ratios. More emotional attachment is. Get to that. Hello, children. Oh, man. Wait. Yes, it's here. Look, except for this is the watermark, but there you go. Yes, it finally. Yes, it's here. See, look. Beautiful. Oh, all 400 pages in its glory. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you what the date's going to be because Arnold in the chat said not to talk about it, so I'm not going to. Maybe I'll hold that. Maybe I'll hold the date till the end of the show. How's that? I have Sam Bada, I believe. Yes, I do. Sam Bada is modding for me today. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Sam. I feel like my lighting in here is not quite 100%. Is that good? All right. It's so bright and sunny out. I can't believe it. We're supposed to have snow today, but they lied. Actually, I need to take now that the book is finally away. It's out of my hands. It's in the Lord's hands right now. But now that it's out the door and it's about to be in the wild, I can start thinking about things like getting back on my snowmobile. So, anyways, no, don't beat up Arnold. I'll tell you later. I'll make you wait till the end of the show. How's that? Actually, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you probably already are going to. If you're a Patreon subscriber, I'll before I jump right in here because I'm supposed to jump right in. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you've probably already seen the cover of the book. It is, as I said, just about 400 pages. It weighs in at. I mean, if you count the blank pages, I guess it's 400. It's 398 pages printed. And I just had the ebook finalized and it is out now too. So, heck, I'll just tell you right now, as soon as the book passes muster for, Amazon and they give me the go ahead, hopefully they don't read too far into it. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I think this book will probably be, I'm not too worried about this. If I had to go and republish the first book again, I might have some concerns, but, it's strange because Amazon owns 87% of all publishing and about 90 some odd percent of the self-publishing market. They essentially have a monopoly on print literature these days, which is kind of a scary thing. So anyways, as soon as I have the date from, it's going to be this week. I'll be straight up with you. It'll be this week. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you will know before anybody else. It's only $5 to subscribe, and you can find it in the description down below. So big things. It's a very exciting time. Finally, yes, I know. Everybody's, giving me grief. I was supposed to actually have it out at the beginning of December, but then I had to deal with my mother's death and her final arrangements. So that pushed things back about 2 or 3 weeks for me. So that's why it's out right now. There you go. End of story. Today we're going to talk about SMV and what the hell are you talking about? Do I have to do this? Any episodes with Hypnotica or Eric Von Sydow? I like Hypnotica. I've met him a few times. I know the dude. I've met him on at least 3 occasions, I think, in Florida at a certain convention that will remain nameless. I like the dude. I wouldn't mind doing another one with him. Anyways, so that's that. Got a few other people throwing questions at me today. That's fine. You can throw questions at me. However, let's get this out of the way first. If you have a question that is pertinent to the discussion, I will do my best to answer it as it comes in. If you have some question about how do I get my girlfriend back, then I'll be happy to cover that later on if it's off topic or whatever else. Thank you, Simon. Yes, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. The second book has, I'm glad you brought up the second book because that is what has SMV ratios in it. And that is what I'm going to talk about today. When I refer to SMV, I mean sexual market value. So if I abbreviate any, that's what that means. A lot of guys hit me up and ask me, like, is there some sort of like index or guide or something like that to all the acronyms that are in the manosphere and the red pill or have been around for a long time? I tried to, in this book, I made damn sure that I didn't use too many of them, or if I used like SMV or if I used MGTOW is another one, that stuff like that. Like people don't, what the hell is this? I tried to spell it out before I started using acronyms again, but there is actually a database of all of the acronyms that have been used really since the mid 2000s. So actually, if you go to therationalmale.com, if you go to my website, my blog, on the sidebar, there's actually a link to all of the acronyms and to all of sort of the lingo that has been used over the years. Some of it's still relevant, some of it's not. Like I don't use the term AFC anymore, which I don't think anybody does, but it's average frustrated chump. That was or PUA, pickup artist. Stuff like that. People have a like, what's this? What's our HB9, HB10, HB6, HB7? That used to mean hot babe or hot bitch or hot something or other. I don't even know. It's basically like, on a 1 to 10 scale, how that woman rates as far as sexual attractiveness. It's funny you should say we should bring this up because that is part of what I'm going to talk about today with respect to SMV. I've made the case in the past. Thanks, Juan, for whatever you gave me. Probably a sticker. I've made a case in the past for sort of expanding the sort of the 1 to 10 scale. We always talk about that, perfect 10 or perfect 9 or perfect 8 or whatever. This is old school stuff as far as I'm concerned. It might not be for you guys, but a lot of guys still who are new to the red pill or new to the manosphere, whatever it is. Whatever you want to call it. In fact, I think maybe 2021 should be the year that we sort of like try to find some new terms for whatever the hell this all is. The manosphere is just useful right now. And I used it in the book, of course, but, and the red pill is useful right now, but I think there needs to be some sort of distinction between like red pill when it comes to, politics or red pill and whatever, like sort of this lame colloquial terminology that we want to use for whatever we think is true and how it refers to intersexual dynamics, because that's where it came from. If you don't believe me, I can show you posts that I put up on So Suave back in 2002, 2004, where we were using the term the red pill as far back as then. So yeah, that's really the origin of the red pill, came from the pickup artist community, and then later into what we now know as the manosphere, because back then it wasn't even called the manosphere. Because we didn't have the kind of social media that we have now. We didn't have the kind of access to things that we do now. But so terminology is important. And I think that one of the things that we have to have is sort of this qualifiable or quantifiable terms that we know what we mean when we're talking about them. Now people will say, like, when it comes to like alpha or beta or gamma or delta or whatever, the sociosexual hierarchies at Vox Day sort of came up with sigma. Yes, I'm aware of sigma. And I did, by the way, if you're interested in sociosexual hierarchies, I've done an episode on that. In fact, you could just look on my channel and just search up sociosexual hierarchies and you'll find it. So I have talked about that in the past, but we need terms and terminology like that so that we can move on to bigger ideas, so that we can build upon those things. So when I talk about alpha, when I talk about beta, when I talk about SMV, when I say HB8, HB10, that's kind of subjective and it's an abstract term. And it's important that I get this like standard caveats here, prior to us getting into things. That's important because you have to remember that how we build those abstracts it's sort of a subjective thing. Like for me, there's sort of like the Tomassi scale, right? There's like, for me, I know what I'll tell you about tens in just a second, but I know what a 9.5 looks like. I know what a 9.7 looks like. I know what an 8.5 looks like on the Tomassi scale. Okay. I'm a white guy who grew up in the 80s. I used to think that Heather Thomas and Heather Locklear were the same woman for a while. I used to think that, I love Centerfolds. I loved Hustler. I love Penthouse. I love those girls, right? I like that look. I like the skinny blonde white girl with the blue eyes and the big tits, right? I like all kinds of women, actually. There's a certain body type that I like. I don't care what nationality you are, what ethnicity you are, where you come from. As long as you're hot, I'm good with it. So, but that's my scale. So when I talk about like, she's a 9.5, guys will be like, oh, what are you talking about? You like them thin, skinny girls. You can break them in half. You like spinners, right? Or you like a lot of guys will say, well, I like big fat women. Like the brothers, man. I mean, let me tell you something, black guys. I don't know how this happens, but I'm not into like girls with huge asses, right? Like Cardi B. Cardi B is overweight to me. All right. Very overweight, like pushing obesity, but the bigger the cushion, the better the push, I guess. I don't know. Like for me, that's not like, I wouldn't put that on. I would not put that any higher than like maybe a 7. Whereas other guys would be like, what are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? I put the, you probably saw this already. In fact, this is actually a really good, let me put this back up there. Like I put this on here because this is a good image. And I saw this, this was actually from I think it was a Cosmo or maybe it was a magazine article about this dude who was like this surfer dude. As you can see, he's ripped. He has that body type that like women love, right? I mean, that sort of, muscularity that's got definition. He's not so jacked that it's like, he's a bodybuilder. I mean, probably works out, but he looks like he's got a swimmer's body, maybe, plays water polo, probably surfs most likely, who knows. Right. And you got this other chick here. And if I'm looking at this girl, and I mentioned this in my body language, post and my body language episodes before, but like when I look at a girl like this and I see like people send me pictures and like casual photos of themselves or of a girl that they used to know or whatever. And they would say, oh, look what happened to her now. Look how big she is now. She used to look like this when she was 20. And now that she's 40, she's like, big as a house kind of thing. And that's also something I need you guys to remember as well, because we're going to talk about the age differentials today as well. But when I look at this girl, when I look at the blonde girl, and I guess this is his wife or his girlfriend, I don't know, but like it's kind of like man bites dog, right? It's notable because it's an exception to the rule. Or we'd like to think it's an exception to the rule. I'm going to make a case as to why this is not the exception to the rule right now. However, when you look at this, you see an imbalance here. You see a guy that is that hot, that ripped, that, no homo, right? He has that physique that women love. And then you see a girl like her and you go, whoa, how did that happen? Now, the idea, of course, and this is what the magazine article sort of talked about, was that, I won't submit you to that. I won't put that in your face anymore. But the magazine article is like, it's like sort of this love conquers all kind of thing. And that's also going to be important to today's topic and today's theme, because the ratios that I'm going to talk about today are again, they're based on those abstractions. They're based on the idea of like, well, this is to this guy, the blonde that he's with might be a 10 to him. I'm not going to say that it's necessarily natural, but we see imbalances. Have you ever seen the meme of the big, huge, fat guy with the hot girl in the thong bikini, and you see him from behind? And of course, the meme is that how to spot a rich guy, because the guy's overweight and you have the hot girl that's next to him. So there must be something that this guy is doing that has made up that deficit, because all things being equal in a naturalized world, this doesn't happen all that often. Again, man bites dog. In this case, it's woman bites dog. It's the exception to the rule. And so what's the rule? The rule is that we tend to want to believe that we will pair with physical likes, like with like. So if you have a fat guy, he's going to get with a fat chick. You got a really in shape, good looking guy who we would say is a 10 on the, or a 9 on the 10 scale, and he should be with a girl who is a 9 on the 10 scale, right? So we think of things, I think in our natural head, we like to think of parity. And what that means is like for like. So if you are like this, socioeconomics, and really technically that's what the original meaning for hypergamy was. The original meaning before the expanded meaning, which I like to think that I have some sort of input in anyways. The original meaning was lifted from a sociological study from the Indian caste system, the social caste system. And in the caste system, it was referred to because women had a tendency to at least want to marry up, to marry out of their socioeconomic class and into another caste. I don't know how that worked. I did not see the study, but I do know that that's where the term came from. But the reason why that's even a term, even an abstraction of a term, is because we expect to see parity. We expect to see a balance between, like for human beings, we tend to look for symmetry. When we're looking at someone's face, when you say somebody is beautiful, somebody is like physically beautiful, it's usually because they have symmetry from both the left and the right side. And so when we see that, when we look at things that are like technically beautiful or technically perfect, we tend to look for symmetry. And in that symmetry, there's sort of a greater narrative to that. So when we see a guy who's really good looking with a girl who's really kind of like overweight, we have to think that there is something that is offsetting that. So there's a deficit there. We notice there's a deficit. The only reason we would even write a magazine article in a women's magazine, maybe it was Elle, I can't remember where I got the cover shot from, but the only reason that there will be an incredible story to tell about good-looking ripped dude with kind of pudgy, overweight girl, not crazy overweight, but like definitely overweight. Now, is she obese? I don't know. You guys can say like, what is obese? I mean, by today's standards, I think she's definitely overweight. But let me throw that up there one more time. There we go. Definitely overweight. Definitely not someone that I would necessarily pursue as a sexual partner in my 20s or 30s or whatever. But this is like, it's an incredible story. It's an incredible journey. It's a triumph of love over what? Over the idea of symmetry, over the idea of like matches like. And that dynamic, I should say, the like versus like, or the like, when it comes to mating choices, is what's known as, I didn't make this up, this is what's known as in psychological and sociological circles, is the assortive mating strategy, or the assortive mating theory. Is that, again, what that means is if you are ripped guy, you would be with hot model girlfriend. If you are a fat pudgy guy, you'd be with pudgy girlfriend walking on the beach instead of this dude. And so when we see that, and it's out of sorts, it triggers something, I think, in our hindbrain, our lizard brain, where we say there's something that's out of balance there. There's something that's like it's not assortive mating. Obviously, if you go and you see this shot, who has the higher sexual market value between the two of them? Now, I'm going to argue that it's going to be the guy. You go put that guy on Tinder, you put that girl on Tinder, and in these shots, and the guy's probably going to get a whole lot more responses than the girl is going to get responses for. Now, not to say that she wouldn't, because she is female, and there's guys who will be happy to sublimate whatever it is, whatever their preferences are. They'll be happy to make rationales for their own preferences. But by and large, no pun intended, if you look at the two of them, the guy has the higher sexual market value in this shot. So when we look at that, we're looking at an imbalance. Now, when we look at that shot from a gynocentric social order, it makes a good article for a women's magazine, because it's a triumph of emotionalism. It's a triumph of, it's what's on the inside and not what's on the outside that counts. And the reason why that's incredible is because it goes against what our innate natures would otherwise have us predisposed to. Hot girl, I want to get with the hot girl. I want to get with the hottest girl that I can get with. For women, it's the same thing, of course, because hypergamy does not have an attraction floor. So for men, it's, or I should say hypergamy does have an attraction floor. Men don't have an attraction floor. And I talked about this on the Charlie and Ben podcast as well, and they kind of ran me up the flagpole for this. But today's episode, this sexual market value and ratios, like a guy who's like, let's just say I'm going to throw out some abstract. Maybe this isn't what you think. This is what I think. Okay, if I look at these two, I look at that guy and I go, this guy's at least an 8. Maybe an 8.5, somewhere around there. He could be a little bit more jacked. He could be a little bit more. I mean, maybe some women would go, oh, wow, I really want to get with that guy. They would say he was a 9. Okay, whatever. Dude's up there. Let's just say he's somewhere in the 8 to 9 range. The woman on the Tomassi scale, that woman is not even at the 6 scale. She might be a 5.5 tops at a 6. And that's if the performance value of her is that much better. Now, that's just me saying that. Now, it seems really brutal, and I know women are going to throw rocks at me. Oh, I can't believe he's making them into commodities. And like, remember we were talking about, let's see, last Wednesday when I had Myron on, and one of the things that Pilion, whatever the frick, I didn't say, whatever his name is, was very upset that we would apply sexual market value, like the red pill or manosphere, whoever, dating coaches, PUAs, even MGTOW. What's her value? Even the doom pill, even the Spurg pill right now, the most black of the blackest pill guys that are out there, they can still see this. In fact, their entire ideology is built on the idea that this guy is above her in sexual market value. And look, he's as good looking as he is, he can only get that girl. So therefore, what is it? Proof of concept. So, but why? Why do we feel offended by that? Why do we think of things in like when we break things down into abstractions and into nuts and bolts, and we quantify like human attraction, human beauty, things that make up that person that might draw someone else to them? Why do we get pissed off at that? Because we want to keep that under the table. We want to keep that. We want to keep that in the realm of mysticism. We want to keep that in the realm of emotionalism, and that's exactly what happens when you see something like this. Because what's going on here with a hot guy and sort of overweight girl is women want to believe that they can get that. They want not only that, they want to believe that they are entitled to that. Look, this girl got this hot guy. I read it in this magazine. I saw it on this article. I read it on this blog. I saw it on the Today Show. I saw it on whatever. I'm entitled to that too. So when we start talking about how women have this sort of overblown sense of self, this overblown sense of their own sexual market value, this overblown sense of ego, right? Or hubris. I've referred to this in several of my essays. Talked about on this show. I mean, it's like in if you've been in the manosphere for any amount of time, and I don't care what sort of subsection you've been in, you have the understanding that there is a very overblown sense of entitlement to women today. And a lot of this, of course, is exacerbated by social media, by being online, by the age of communication in our new order. And when you read book 4, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I'm referring to the new order versus the old order. So in the new order, we have access to this 24/7. Girl, and it doesn't have to be on Oprah. It doesn't have to be on Good Morning America. It doesn't have to be even in whatever magazine this was in. Their girlfriends will build them up too. This girl's like, look, this girl got this guy. You go, girl. You're not fat. You're looking great. Like that same kind of positive reinforcement that keeps coming and coming and coming. When in reality, it's probably not, you're probably not as hot as you think you are. Now this guy, well, but look, here it is, right? Well, again, man bites dog, exception to the rule. The exception proves the rule. So the only reason this is exceptional is because the rule is a girl her size is not going to get a guy like that. Never going to get a guy like that. Or if she is, there's something else involved. There's something else that is a deficit, a deficit balancing variable that brings that up. So I wanted to bring this to light first here, because what I'm going to talk about next is we're going to start looking at things sort of in nuts and bolts and in quantifiable terms here. Today's topic, like I said, SMV ratios and attachment is important because it changes, and guys will make they'll make life-changing decisions based on what their understanding of the of their own sexual market value, of the girl that they're with sexual market value, and how that's going to interrelate over time. But they make decisions under one set of circumstances, and later the circumstances change, and also changes the bearing and the weight and the gravity of those decisions on their entire lives, on their kids' lives, on their families' lives, and everything else, assuming you get married, assuming you have, or even just have a long-term relationship even. So, I mean, I talk about marriage. I mean, if you have a girlfriend that's a long-term girlfriend, and you've been with her for, gosh, even 3 years, things might change. Like, you're not going to be with the same person. Hopefully you're both well-grounded people, but your sexual market value is going to change. Hers is going to change. And it's going to change with time, and it's going to change with age. It's going to change with circumstances. It's going to change with a lot of different variables. But again, what is the old adage? The old adage is like, a woman marries a guy thinking he's going to change, and a man marries a woman because he thinks she'll never change. Now, I think that's kind of silly and stupid and old order thinking, but there's a reason why that used to be sort of an idiom, I guess, like a maxim, right? And I think that when we analyze sort of like this old folk wisdom kind of thing, again, in a gynocentric social order, it balances out, because women want to say that, oh, well, I'm not going to be you can't expect me to be the same person. I can't compete with that. I can't, there's always going to be rationales along the way, while women are in different phases of maturity, and that's by design, I should say. So when we're talking about social conventions, in a gynocentric social order, when a woman gets to say, be 30 years old or 31 years old, then a new set of social conventions sort of kicks in. So when you get to, or for instance, like one of those social conventions, well, when you get married, sex tends to decline, right? That how often have we heard that? Or I had a baby and I'm just not feeling it. I'm just so fat and bloated and ugly, and I don't want to have sex with my husband because I feel bad, or I don't feel sexy because I'm fat now, and I have to take care of the kid, and I have all this responsibility. And really, what it is it's more like familiarity, and all of the urgency and the competition anxiety are out the window because he's on the hook for the kid. So there's that aspect. Now, women aren't going to cognitively think of that at that time, but that's something that's playing in sort of like the subroutines going on in the background. That's the hindbrain sort of buzzing away. The other thing is on some level of consciousness, women understand that their sexual market value is a depreciating asset. It is perishable, and once they get to certain ages, it's do or die time. So, like I said, when I'm talking about the epiphany phase, between the ages of 29 and 31, when a woman gets to that point, again, I'm not saying she's unattractive. I'm not saying that a woman of that age can't be attractive and can't be arousing and can't be someone that would generate interest from guys. Of course, I'm not saying that's when the wall starts. The wall starts here. It doesn't start here. It starts here. So when I talk about 29 to 31, guys will say, well, I know lots of girls that are hot when they're 34. I know lots of girls who are really hot when they're 38. Look, here's a Fitness America. She's in the Masters division, but here's this woman who's 40 years old, and look, she looks fantastic. Okay, again, man bites dog, or woman bites dog. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Exception to the rule. And the rule today is that anywhere between 70 and 70 plus percent, maybe that's the better round number, 70 plus percent of people in the United States, and in Western countries, I should say as well, but certainly in the United States, 70% of the population is overweight and or morbidly obese. So you're already looking at the top 30% if the girl is at least somewhat good looking and even at a normal weight at that age. So that's something to keep in mind when you start saying, well, here's the exception to the rule. Okay, that's an exception to the rule, but what's the rule? There you go. What are you talking about? Now the guy is less than an 8. You think so? He's less than an 8 if he was not ripped. If you want to see what an 8 plus 10 guy really looks like, look at Sean Opry. For your Americans, no homo. Okay, well, okay, great. So your scale for dudes is different than mine. What did you want? Hi, Rollo. Bro, red pilled me after trauma. Good, trending upwards now. I want coach in London, UK, aside from Troy, who else? Aside from SoSuave, where else to look? Okay, I'll get back to you, Matt Redman. I would say go look at Tom Torero, I believe, is also in the UK. Those are some other dudes that you want to, if you want to learn game, if you're looking for sort of traditional PUA or game, something like that, look at Troy, look at Tom Torero. I don't think Nick Krauser is still doing it, but there's guys that you can look up. And if they don't, ask them. They're probably better to talk to than I don't know in the UK. I only know Troy and I know Tom Torero. So. Let's see. Did I miss anybody else? I don't believe that I did. Okay. Good. Okay, good enough. So when I talk about different ratios, when we look at that imbalance, when we looked at the imbalance of the guy with the fat girl or the fat guy with the girl, there's something that offsets that differential according to what we think should be the truth, which is a sort of mating, which in a perfect world, in a vacuum, a sort of mating probably would happen. Yes, I'm aware of the studies where you say, well, guys, and these are old studies too, by the way. I've had this thrown in my face a few times where and women will say the same thing. It's like, well, people tend to fall in love with the people that they happen to be in, that it's convenient with. Like they happen to be at the same work, the same job, the same school, the same whatever it is that they're in. Like they're in the military, right? Military guys can sort of let me know if this is true, but like you find a girl who's attractive in the military, you're seeing her all the time. Well, you build an attraction, and that's how that works, right? And I'm not saying that that's not necessarily true, but I'm saying that those are old studies now because back then that was true. It was dependent. Sexual marketplace was a local sexual marketplace. It was whoever you were with. It was, are you at the same high school? Are you at the same college? Are you do you have the same hobbies? Do you have the same interests? Do you go to the same groups? Maybe it's Bible study. Maybe it's your school. Maybe it's your church. Maybe it's whatever that locale is. Maybe it's your family, right? Maybe it's just your sister knows a hot girl and she introduces you and poof, now you have babies, right? So that's a localized sexual marketplace. That was definitely something that you could throw into the mix, into the variables with respect to sexual market value. Back in the day. Nowadays, we are in a global sexual marketplace. And I think, the doom pillars will make this painfully clear that women have access to beta orbiters and, instant, like they're virtual beta orbiters. They're virtual blue pill chumps who are more than happy to, we call them simps, right? We used to call them, white knights back in the day, but essentially white knights are more or less simps. I mean, they'll defend milady's honor, but simps are going to be the guys who are going to just sort of, they're pedestalizing women who don't realize that they're pedestalizing women. And why is that? Well, because they believe that woman is well above him in sexual market value. In the 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi, I believe it's number 8. Or I think it's I can't even remember my own damn rules. I believe it's number 8. It might be number 7. No, 7 is garbage. So I believe it's 8, and 8 is like never figure out for a woman why she won't have sex with you, why she won't sleep with her. Always let her do it herself. And the point of that rule is not to self-defeat. It's the idea of leagues. In fact, the title of that essay that rule is in is called The League of Your Own. And what that means to me is guys always say this, well, she's out of my league, I'm not even going to try. Well, you're not going to take the shot, so you're not going to do that. You've already sort of excluded yourself from that whole thing. Why is it that we think that a guy shouldn't approach a woman who is out of his league? Why? Clearly, this woman is well out of this guy's league, well out of his league. We can see it, like, as I said, I mean, I don't know whatever your arbitrary, rating system is or how you quantify or qualify things, but I think it's just on first glance, it's certainly obvious that there is an SMB imbalance here. The ratio is off. So, but for this, when it's a woman who benefits from a ratio imbalance, then we write articles about it. We build her up. I can't believe you're with this hot guy. Oh man, it must be great. He must be hitting you hard. That whatever. Like girlfriends will build him up. And guys will come to me and go, well, why is this? Is this hypergamy? Like they don't understand why this is like reinforced. But if it's a guy who is like, let's say a fat pudgy guy and he gets with a hot girl, if he gets that girl, it's usually because we say, oh, well, he must have a lot of money. Oh, he must have something, or she must have daddy issues, or she must want a guy like that, or he must have something that is balancing that differential. Whereas when it comes to the opposite, when it's the woman who is benefiting from the imbalance, we say, oh, it's a love conquers all. It's, it's all about love, right? Remember Will Smith's, was it Jada Pinkett Smith? It was all about love. It was all about healing. No, it wasn't. It was all about getting after it is what it was all about. But when we see this, we build that up. We want to say, oh, because we live in a gynocentric social order. So we say, okay, well, this is okay. But if a guy who is obviously below or beneath that woman's SMV, we look at that as almost criminal, creepy. The guy's a creep. How could she possibly get with that creepy guy? Or we see, even guys will throw this at me, like, how is it that women go for these like emo boys? Like they're not masculine. How is it that they get any play? How is it that Robert Smith from The Cure is a hot guy, right? Or with K-pop? How is it? Is K-pop really like this era's like The Cure? maybe it is like sort of the emo dude, gothy emo guy who puts like mascara on and then wipes it down his eyes. Like why is that? Now, if you want, I'm not going to dig too much into that today because I have an essay called Tickle Me Emo on therationalmale.com. If you want to go read that, I go into that in a little bit more detail. But long story short is when we see an imbalance of a guy who's not supposed to be at or above that woman's SMV, we tend to think there's either something wrong with her, or there's something that is offsetting the balance there. So he's got a lot of money. He's a rock star. He's a tortured artist, and she gets off on that, right? There is something to be said about women sexually selecting for creative intelligence. So there's the aspect, and I'll tell you how that works. When it comes to creative intelligence, there is a theory. Anyways, again, not me. This is a theory that's out there that women select guys like artists, guys who are good with their hands, like handyman, right? They select men who are musicians because it is an innate genetic predisposition of women to look for intelligence and creative intelligence in particular. So when a little bird can make its nest, the male bird makes the nest really nice and pretty and puts like little sparkly things on it, that's going to draw the female to that nest, right? It's the same thing with guys who are artistic or who can improvise. So the creative intelligence side of things it's sexy because it's the guy he can sing, right? And people are impressed with that, or he's a great artist, or he can paint their house very nice, or he's the kind of guy who can improvise when everything all goes to hell. Well, the tornado came and it destroyed our village. And so, the guy who has creative intelligence, the guy who can figure out how to go and rebuild all of this, that guy needs to reproduce because he has the intelligence to improvise and to build something else. It's creative intelligence. So go look that up if you are in any way curious about that. Also, you can look up creative intelligence on therationalmale.com. I've got at least one essay about that. And there's a lot of different studies that are evolutionary psychology as well as social sciences that talk about how women select for creative intelligence. So there you have it. So that might be something that imbalances or create some sort of skew, I guess, in the sexual market value balance, right? So that throws off assortative mating right there. So when you look at assortative mating, it's 9 gets with 9, 8 gets with 8, 7 gets with 7, 6 gets with 6, 5, that kind of stuff. Now, that's not the way human beings work. That's the way that women would like it to work. That's the way that an egalitarian blank slate society based on social constructionism would have us believe that human beings work, but that is not how it works. And it hasn't been like that since we were, on this sub-Saharan savannas living in tribes. It has always been hypergamy. It has always been women looking to have sex up and to live up and to marry up and to breed up. That's the only thing that makes sense. It's not to breed down. It's to breed up. It's to live up. It's to survive up. And again, I'm not going to, this isn't a show on hypergamy, but that's the idea that you've got I wish I had the graph for you here offhand, but it's the idea that a woman who is a 4, a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, they're all looking for 8, 9s, and 10s. They're all looking for that top 20 percentile of guys, all of them. So when somebody says, oh yeah, well, it's the 80-20 rule and 80%, or what is it, 20% of guys are banging 80% of girls, you're getting it wrong. 100% of women want to get with the top 20% of guys, leaving the lower 80% of guys to figure something out, to develop their intelligence, to find out how they can do an end run around hypergamy. That's more or less the has been the human reproductive schema for a long time. We don't like that because it doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. A sort of mating sounds right. There's someone for everyone, right? That's really where the soulmate myth came from. That's really how we get one-itis. The reason why you get one-itis, by the way, is because it's been pounded into your head over and over again that there's someone for everyone, and that it really is appealing to guys who are in the lower 80 percentile of sexual market value. The guys that get selected out who have to figure something out. And it's become more and more difficult for those guys to figure things out in the digital age and in the new order. Yes, I agree 100%. You guys got it rough. You got it tough. You got it rough. I'm not saying there's not ways to get around that. There are, but yeah, times have changed. Gotcha. Thanks. So the bottom 80% of guys have to develop some kind of creative intelligence, some kind of methodology. Whether that's I gotta find something to offset that deficit. I've got to make a lot of money, or I got to get myself in better shape, or I've got to really anything that's especially in the manosphere when it comes to like male development and like be the best version of yourself that you can be. All of that goes back to one thing: solving your reproductive problem as a guy who is in that lower 80%. Again, I'm not coming down on you. I'm not saying you're ugly. I'm not saying you're a loser. I'm not saying you're doomed. I'm just saying that's the reality, and you got to figure it out. And that's a challenge. That's good. That's actually something that's, especially in a red pill paradigm, when you have access to accurate information and you can base your decisions on that red pill accurate information now, the world's your freaking oyster. I don't care if you're 5'9" or you're 6'3". If you're 6'3" and you're blue pill chump, you're still worse off than the guy who's 5'9" who has red pill, awareness and understands the game and can figure something out. He's a clever MFer, right? What time is it? No, I can't say that yet. I try not to swear until the first hour of the show, because I know that the auditors for YouTube will never want to watch past like the first 30 minutes of any show. But yeah, you got to be a clever, sneaky bastard, right? And that you want to know why? Male feminists? That's trying to do an end run around their sexual, their low sexual market value. Guys who want to identify with the feminine, guys who pedestalize women, guys who, she's my sun and my moon and she's my soulmate and it should be a sort of mating. And here she is. And I don't get chances like this. And she's a once in a lifetime girl, right? The reason you believe that is because you're trying to figure out how to get around the hypergamous filter as a guy who, at least on some level of consciousness, you recognize that you're in that 80 percentile. So you've got to figure something out. Again, you can do that destructively or you can do it constructively. I would prefer that you did it constructively and live a better life and have babies and, have fun in bed with hot women. Great. Good for you. What did you say? Evolution tends to eliminate inefficiency. Yeah. Evolution tends towards pragmatism. If alphas and betas have persisted so long, I guess neither can be dispensed with. Yeah. Guys will say this. Well, if only alpha's bred, then everybody would be alpha. Yeah, they would, but they don't. There's plenty of beta guys who have sex and have babies. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that? Because I think everybody thinks of especially in the manosphere, especially in the red pill, Everybody thinks in binary extremes. Stop it. Stop with that shit, man. Like, oh, well, he's red pill, so he's going to get all the girls.
We're never going to score. We're never going to score.
Like, that's you, okay? Stop it. Stop it. It's order of degrees. So but you might be better off than some other schmuck who's got a lot more work to do than you do. Stop with that stuff. So it's like everybody thinks that, well, you know, got this alpha and beta paradigm, right? Well, if you're alpha, you're going to win. If you're beta, you're going to lose. Well, there's plenty of beta chumps. And I remember when Royce used to call them herbs, like herbivorous men. So we used to call them herbs. There's another term that we used to use that we don't use really anymore. I don't think is anybody using herb anymore? Herb was short for herbivorous men. And it came out after the article about the men in Japan being really effeminate and herbivorous, right? And that was the term that they used. And so we started calling them herbs. Now nobody calls them herbs, but you know, simps, chumps, betas, whatever. And I shouldn't use, and when I'm using the term beta, it's sort of like anything except alpha, right? It's like in binary terms, I have to use that. But when you start thinking of things in terms of, well, if women only wanted to get with guys who are alpha, then wouldn't we all be a race of alpha men? Well, ideally, yeah, but we don't live in a vacuum. We don't live in a sort of mating. We don't live like that. Women, and I don't care how perfect that girl is, or your puritanical girl from Bible study, she's just as hypergamous as the skanky ass stripper on the stripper pole twerking. She just expresses it in a different way. She just has it's all context at that point. It's like, how do I make this work? So when you say, well, you know, alphas and betas, I guess neither can be dispensed with. Well, you're never going to dispense with them, because as soon as you get a race of betas, or excuse me, a race of alpha men, that now everybody's special, right? Now we're all alpha. So the guy who has the most alpha of all those alphas, now he's the alpha, and all those other guys are betas. What is it that puts you above and beyond? Again, discontentment. You're never going to be 100. If everybody was special, then nobody's special. Remember that from The Incredibles? And once everyone is super, no one will be. Syndrome. Remember that? Oh, maybe you don't. Maybe you guys who don't have kids, you probably never watched The Incredibles, or maybe you watched it when you were a kid and you didn't get it. But that's true. Like, once everybody's special, once everybody's alpha, then everybody's alpha, right? I'm not trying to make every guy on planet Earth alpha. God forbid. No. But you need to harness the energy of the alpha. Let's see. What else do I have here? What'd you say? Get some kibble for the sight hounds. Thank you. I will. You know, damn it. Ned was just in here. I thought maybe he was under, you know, I'm back on my regular schedule now. So I'll bring him in. I'll put the Greyhound cam on the next show. Maybe I'll do it on Wednesday. Bambi was just here too. Where the hell did all the dogs go? I didn't even have to shoo them out. Samurai Flack, I always assumed creativity, IQ was only attractive if it led to money or status. No, it's improvisation. It's, can you rebuild from nothing? I should probably do an episode on creative intelligence. Like a guy winning online chess tournaments is a 0, but when winning them in person with the validation, he's a hero. Validation, a hero. So I tend to think of IQ as a deficit. Don't mistake IQ for creative intelligence. And maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but the guy, there are plenty of dumbass artists. I know, I've been one for a while myself, but there's plenty. I've been around them, put it that way. But women love them, right? They're not intellectual giants, but they play a mean guitar, or they paint a masterpiece, right? They're not philosophical giants. But creative intelligence and IQ, I'm not saying that they're not connected. They are, but they're two different animals. And so your IQ, gosh, I really should do a whole episode on IQ, shouldn't I? I will really piss off a lot of guys who have a lot invested in IQ right now. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that the prioritization of IQ is something that guys think is going to be attractive in some way. And it's not. Your IQ is actually kind of a deficit. If you go watch the sociosexual hierarchies video that I did when I was doing the breakdown that Vox Day came up with, he even said it, right? It's in his video that I did the video on, that IQ at a certain stage, at a certain height, or at a certain, level of grandeur, or whatever, 140, right? Or, as opposed to 80, you get to a certain point and it becomes a disadvantage socially, rather than like if you're like, say, 120 and you're one, smart, savvy son of a bitch, right? So, there's, a lot of people like to say, well, there's no such thing as creative intelligence or social intelligence. There's only IQ. Well, if you're going to just break it down to that, the nuts and bolts, again, that's binary extremes. But there's certainly an understanding of, you want to know why a lot of guys don't know what to do with women, or don't know what to do. How do I carry on a conversation? Rollo, how do I get her back? Oh, she's my one, and she's my sun and my moon. Well, the guys who, or guys will say, I don't relate with guys. How do I get more male friends, right? How do I form my tribes? Well, that's a social intelligence problem, right? And I'm not saying you're bad or good or whatever. I'm just saying that that's the root of it. So let me see what else you have here. Gosh, you guys, I don't want to turn this into a super chat show, but you guys are giving me some good questions, so I got to keep going here. Chirith, whatever. Don't you think sometimes knowing red pill will lead to more obsession while interacting with women? It shouldn't. You know what leads to obsession with women or with a woman? So when guys will say, well, if you know more about red pill, then all you're going to do, all these guys are pussy hounds. That's all they think about. That's all Rollo ever talks about is hypergamy and this. And I talk about a lot of other things. But I also understand that intersexual dynamics is the underlying, is what's under the hood of those things that you don't think are all that. You have no idea that they're really, you think of, well, people just make these decisions because of this. No, well, mostly because they're trying to either impress women or subconsciously impress women, or put themselves into a better position where they can solve their reproductive problem. Not that they're going, I want to have babies all over the place. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's a reproductive problem that men and women have, that on our hindbrain, our lizard brain, little pituitary gland, whatever, what's the gland? Pineal gland. Our pineal gland at the bottom where, starts pumping, whatever, the root brain stem, monkey lizard brain, is looking for. The reason why you get off on certain, you want to know why you get addicted to porn. That's that little teeny tiny hindbrain, lizard brain kind of thing. So that's why. So I wouldn't worry so much about being obsessed with women. There are very few, and I'm not coming down on you, this is not a flame. There are very few guys who are obsessed with women. Very few. In fact, I would say the vast majority of men, the 80% of guys, at least 80%, and a good percentage of the 20%ers, because they believe the same blue pill crap. So let's just say maybe 85 to 90% of guys are not obsessed with women. They're not obsessed with them. Like, oh, I got to do everything. I got to do anything to make myself better and so women will have me. And it's, again, binary extremes. Don't think in binary extremes. They're not obsessed with women in that they're going to make every living decision to get with as many women as they can. In fact, don't worry so much about guys like forming their own harems or like becoming asshole jerks so that they can, live this sort of Machiavellian dark triad life. So I'm gonna go from being a really nice guy to being this ass hat and just live as a dark triad man kind of thing and crush women's souls. Right? Guys don't do that. Most guys aren't going to do that, and they're not going to take this information and use it because they have an obsession with women. So I've heard that the reason why I'm stopping here, and going to insert a little bookmark in this one. The reason I'm stopping here is because this is a very common criticism of the manosphere, of the red pill. Your guys are just obsessed. You guys, all you care about is sex. No, I care about the dynamics. I care about the machinery. I care about how things sort of interplay with each other, and how that works out in our personal lives, in our political lives, in our social discourse, and everything else. Why do we prioritize the things that we do? Maybe you are obsessed. Maybe, who knows? But very few guys today are like legitimately, they use all this stuff just so they can, I got to get more. I feel bad about myself because my notch count's only in the double digits. I need to get in the triple digits. Like, that's going to make them feel that's bullshit. What that is that's guys, that's cope, first of all, but it's also guys saying, yeah, well, these guys over here, they're just obsessed. I'm not. No, you are. You're just as obsessed as they are, in the sense that you want to solve your reproductive problem, but you might not be like, you might not feel bad about yourself for having, banged 40 women instead of 100 women, or 10 women as opposed to 15 women, whatever you're topping out at. I don't know. But the idea that guys will use the red pill to like just to wantonly have sex with, with as many women as, whatever's on two legs is a sort of, well, it's a cope, but it's also kind of this extreme idea or worry, right? Well, we should just keep our heads in the sand and be ignorant. Like ignorance is bliss, right? We should all just stay blue pill, because if we're red pill, then there's going to be some guys who are going to take this and they're going to abuse it and exploit women. Are there guys that have done that? I'm sure there probably have, but I would say a very small fraction compared to the guys who use this. I would be more worried about this. I would be more worried, Kyra, I would be more worried that guys would use this to get their one. Guys would go, oh, I read the Rational Male, I read all this good stuff. I'm a red pill. I'm a red pill wear guy. And what they want to do is they want to take all of that knowledge. This is exactly what Mystery did, PUA Mystery. I'm going to take all this knowledge. I know how to carry on a conversation. I know how to get a woman into bed. I know how to do all this great stuff. But I really want the white picket fence and the one for me, that girl that turned me down in high school. Now I can go get her. Now I can have the golden retriever in the front yard and 2.5 kids in a minivan. Now I can get it because I'm red pill aware. I can make it work. That's what I'd be more worried about. Guys trying to use the red pill to achieve blue pill ideals that they should have abandoned a long time ago. That in your unplugging, if you're not abandoning the ideals that you had when you were a blue pill kind of chump, then you're not internalized it. You haven't come to the point where you're going, okay, I need to change things. I'm not saying that you can't be married, you can't have kids, whatever. You can make it work for you. But if the point is to have all that and to learn all that stuff so you can go back and get whatever you felt you were missing out while you were plugged in, you're still plugged in. So. Tony de Lama. The biggest opportunity with hypergamy is urgency, in my view. Yeah. When a woman feels the bond is made quickly. This phenomenon proves doomers wrong. It pays to improve oneself, to entice and meet urgency. Yeah, I would agree. What else do we got here? Chris is black. Are you? You don't look black in this. Hello, Rollo. I'm in an almost 2-year LTR since July. It's been a long distance. Okay, you don't have a relationship, so don't stop calling it an LTR. And we've seen each other off and on, and it's been terrific. Now she is acting cold and says she needs to be alone. Yes, because she's banging another guy. I'm just going to lay in the interests of being efficient and expedient. She's banging another guy. That's why. Sorry, I'm a bearer of bad news, but that's 90%, 100%, about 100% of the time. That's why. LDRs, long distance relationships, do not meet the criteria for a relationship. You have an invisible friend. Stop it. Spin more plates, my friend. That's the best advice I can give you at this point. Go read. I have an essay called Letting Go of Invisible Friends. Go read that right now. It's about LDRs, long distance relationships. Long distance relationships are not relationships. The end. Period. I need a sound drop for what is it? Willy Wonka. You lose, sir. Or no, good day, sir. That's what I need. Somebody give me that sound drop. I need that, and I need Chefy. Somebody give me Chef from South Park. Hello, children. I really need that one too. I need that one, and I need the you lose, sir, or what's the other one? Good day, sir. That's what I need. Patrick, what did you say? Isn't it the case that low IQ individuals tend to be braver and less neurotic than smart people, which is why they tend to display more alpha behavior? Maybe. It might be. Do we think of? I think there's again. Good. This is a good example. I'm not going to talk about IQ today. I will save that for another show. I promise. I will get to this in another show, Patrick. But why is it that we think of guys who are big and muscular and like the Hulk? Why do we think of the Hulk as dumb? Why wouldn't he be just a brilliant? Well, he would if he was smart. He'd be weedy and like small, and he'd have a big brain, right? Like in the comic books, right? Was it MODOK? MODOK. He's just this big head. And he has a little shriveled up body. And go look up MODOK, MODOK from the Marvel universe. That's the guy that we think of as being like super intelligent, right? Or like too intelligent for his own good. But the guys who are like, we don't think of brilliance associated with like being really ripped and jacked and everything. We think of that guy as, well, he's a good looking guy, but he's a jock and he's dumb. He's not smart like me, honey. Well, that's smart guy trying to do an end run around him being in the 80 percentile and trying to do an end run around the hypergamous filter. So we think we tend, and we reinforce those all the time. Why can't a guy who's like, looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger be like Stephen Hawking's? Why not? Well, I say, well, maybe it's because he spends more time in the gym instead of reading. Well, how do we know that? We don't know. It's funny because when we look at a guy who is like overweight or fat, or doesn't take care of himself, and we think of that guy as kind of like, oh, well, he's not putting in the effort. He's not doing the things. We have associations. When I've talked about this before, when I've talked about congruency, like we see somebody and we expect something from them because of the way that they look. If you see a guy who's Giga Chad, right? You look at a guy who's like 6'3", ripped to the bone. Andreas Munzer ripped to the bone. I mean, huge dude. And yes, I know he died. But the dude is like ripped to the bone. We don't look at that guy and go, man, I wonder if he's a college professor. We don't. I think one of the reasons, and guys will debate me on this. I think one of the reasons why a guy like Henry Rollins, when I look at Henry Rollins, I go, okay, guy seems kind of alpha, right? I mean, guys will say, well, he's got some really liberally, SJW sort of political views. Maybe that's changed. I don't know. But he's always been a sort of self-determined kind of badass, or self-made badass, I should say. And when you look at him, you think of him as just sort of like he's big. Well, he used to be anyway. He's still, I think, pretty yoked. But you look at him and then you hear him talk and you go, damn, this guy's pretty smart, right? It's that I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting this guy who is very good looking and built and is the lead singer of a punk band to be smart. They're all dumb, right? He's a punker. He's Sid Vicious. How come he's not? How is he, what is he? I got a doctorate in philosophy? I don't know. Why do we think that? Because we're looking for congruency. That's why. And again, I've talked about congruency in the past, but I usually talk about it when like guys who are like the doom pills are facing LMS, or these guys who are like, oh, it's all about looks. Is it about looks? Yes, very much so. But what do those looks convey? What are you expecting from those looks? So if you got a guy who's like this bodybuilder and you see him he's The Rock and he's dressed in a tutu and he's a little pink tutu and he's running, he's acting very effeminate, that's incongruent with what we expect from that guy. If the guy is Giga Chad and he opens up his mouth and he's like, oh, I really want a girlfriend. Oh, and he's very like beta and blue pill and simpy and chumpy. Girls probably still want to bang him, but do they want to live with him? Do they want to like start a family with this guy? Other than the sexual side of things, what do they want? Because there's incongruency. They're expecting a certain personality. They're expecting a certain set of, the way that guy's supposed to be. What do you want? How should a man, M-A-N, pursue an alpha widow? Don't. Is it possible to make her completely get over the alpha ideal Chad? I don't know. Do you know the guy? And if so, okay. So here's a couple of questions. If you know the guy and is she still obsessed with that guy? Don't bother. Just leave her. Let her rot. Let her sit. It is your time and your effort will be better spent on a woman who is not like that, or who is less like that. Because some guys will say, well, they're all alpha widows, man, by order of degree again. But if she's like obsessed with this guy, or she's an alpha widow of another guy, just let it spin more plates, man. The only reason why you're looking at if you say to me, how should I pursue this one girl? If you say the word pursue, you're not spinning plates. You're looking at that girl going, oh, wow, I got to get in there. I got to figure it out. If you are spinning plates, you would not ask me this question. You would be like, yeah, she's one of many girls on my roster, and therefore, when she gets over this guy, then maybe if she's really that into it, then maybe she'll call me and we'll have a good time. I don't know, but you should not give it this much thought. That's the first part. Can you out alpha the dead alpha? It depends. It depends on how strong that guy made that alpha impression on her, and then it also depends on what were the circumstances of the breakup. When a woman is Usually there's two ways. Okay. So the first way is this: the guy could have broken up with her, or maybe it was just circumstantial, or maybe he was the best lover she ever had, and he had to move off to, Zimbabwe. He had to move off to, to New Zealand or someplace, and just circumstances, star-crossed lovers, and it just couldn't make it happen. And he's the one that got away. Okay. That's one alpha widow, one archetype, I should say, one theme for it. The other is she dumped him, and he became something better as a result of that. He improved himself. He was not the one that got away. He was the one that she pushed away. And that's a different circumstance for an alpha widow. That's the regret. It's kind of a reverse of buyer's remorse. It's like push him away remorse. So it depends on what the situation is. But my advice to you, young man, is don't give it any more thought. Stop pursuing. If you're saying, I want to pursue a girl who I know is an alpha widow, are you listening to yourself? Did you read your super chat? Spin more plates. You want to solve your problem? Spin more plates. IQ is the Voldemort of social sciences. Yeah. I know. I'll probably get some brainiac. Check out the big brain on Brad. AW, please do video on creative intelligence. I'm a guitarist and do it because I love it. But would love to see how it helps in the sexual marketplace. Well, be a guitarist because you love it, because right now there's not a lot of money in it. I can tell you that from personal experience. And I don't know. I think that the music scene has changed. I don't know what kind of music you play, or what your social scene is like. Because the problem with playing in using creative intelligence, like you're a great artist or you're a hot guitar player or whatever, you still have to have that scene. You have to have a local sexual marketplace. When I was in my rock star 20s back in the day, my sexual marketplace was a Hollywood strip, right? We're talking about 1988 to about 1993, somewhere around there. And that was my local sexual marketplace. I became very good at getting laid in that. And half the reason, I wanted to be a guitar player. I was playing bass and guitar at the time. It was easier to find a bass position than it was, because everybody wanted to be a guitar hero. And I could play guitar very well, but people weren't looking for a guitarist, because everyone was. So I started playing bass and got in. So I started doing that, which is good because it got me into the music scene, and I learned a lot as a result of that. But let's be honest, I wanted to get laid. It certainly wasn't the music. It certainly wasn't the, it was the music, but it wasn't the money. It wasn't I can make a lot of money being in a professional band. Maybe we'll make it big someday. The scene was sort of dying off by 1989, 90. It was still going around. There's still some things that are, still cool, but by 92, grunge had come in, and Nirvana was a huge thing, and Allison, the Seattle sound, like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and all that stuff, that started coming in. And honestly, I kind of wish I would have sort of flowed with that a little bit better, but I didn't. I was more into really heavy stuff, and I'm glad that survived. But my local sexual marketplace was the Hollywood strip for a long time, and would that be the same way now? Probably not. But remember that don't rely just on creative intelligence. You have to understand the market pressures. I hate to make you into sort of this sexual economist, but you have to understand what the market pressures are. Aaron Clary I should probably have Aaron on. We'll talk about that. What else do we have here? Asanji again says, men who obsess with their looks and emoting over it instead of learning game. Okay, looks matter. Are they not acting like women? Yes, in a sense they are. If you are obsessed with your looks, if you think that looks is everything, I'm not saying it's not important. In some cases, it's the number one most important thing. But there are other things on the freaking list. That's what you need to understand. No one I know, no one I associate with, no PUA that I know, no dating coach, no whatever. Even MGTOWs who have their own coaching thing, they'll tell you that, none of them say that looks aren't important. They are. Okay. End of story. Rip the page off. We're gone. Yes, they are. Okay. So stop saying we don't, because we do. They don't think the looks are important. No, I just don't think that they're the only thing. What'd you say? You say it again by read. Say it again by Alan Roger Curry. I would have Alan Roger Curry back on. I like Alan. I don't know if Alan's going to ever be Alan again though, because he's got a baby and he's married right now. I'm not saying he wouldn't do he's probably pivoted to something else by now. And I say that with love because I like Alan a lot, and I've had him on my show. I've been on his show. I've met him in person. I probably stupidly had him go be on the 21 convention. And I like Alan a lot, so I got nothing bad to say about Alan, but I think that he's probably going to pivot to something else, and it's just unavoidable at this stage. What would happen if every blue-pilled man in the U.S. read your book, unplugged, and discovered female nature? It would be anarchy! Dogs and cats living together. It would be nuts. I tell you what, my shows would be a whole lot shorter. My shows would go from like 3 hours to 30 minutes if every man, woman, and child were in my book in the United States. Zach Redpiller, IQ is not social intelligence. Yeah, well, a lot of the IQ purists seem to think that it is. And I know. Quick thinking, creativity, logic, problem solving, or wisdom. It's processing power and memory. It isn't useful by itself. I agree. I 100% agree. But there's going to be dudes who are going to just go, I can't believe he doesn't know anything about IQ. Screw that Rollo guy. That's what's going to happen if I do that. Anyways, I want to get back to what I was going to talk about. I have to get to SMV ratios here. And before I do that, I have to show you once again this screenshot. Where is my thingy here? All right, there we go. That's it. Y'all ready for this? There it is. Once again, I got to take this off. Pull that off. Now you can see the whole thing. The infamous SMV ratio scale, courtesy of Rollo Tomassi, the circa 2012, I think is when I did this. I can't believe that this is still a big deal. Like people still refer back to this and they, I can't believe, do you know that these guys really think this? Yeah. They thought that about 10 years when you were in grammar school, when you were in sixth grade, they were saying the same thing. Bright guy. So anyways, I wanted to throw this out there because I want you to get another just sort of frame of reference here when and can you see that? Yeah. Okay. So, right around here at 23, that's peak SMV for women. Right around 30, 36, 37, what did I say, 38, somewhere around there. I think if I was to redo this, I would push it back a little bit for guys, but right about there. I think that's a good round ballpark figure. Also, I think this is important to note too, because when guys are like, depending on the guy. Now, again, I'm basing this on averages. So if there's a guy that is like, he's the quarterback of the football team. Every girl want to sleep with him and bang him. And he's 15, 16, 17 years old. And the girls can't get maybe his female teachers can't keep their hands on it. Yeah. There's going to be that guy okay. I'm talking about average guys from like in Western cultures at about high school age, right around 15. And the reason I started at 15, once again, I'll repeat, is because that's when girls and guys start to take a notice of each other. I think in earnest, let's just say maybe it's before, maybe it's after, but I think it's a good mean average. So that's why I started at 15. Now, if you look right about here, your sexual market value can go up, assuming you are maintaining and you are, you're living up to a good potential. Then you kind of level off because women at your age, your peers at your age at 23, are not as interested in you and the average guy as they are in men who are older than you. Guys who are anywhere between statistically 3 to 7 years older than you are. So there's that. And again, it takes longer for men to mature physically, mentally, financially, personally, purpose-wise. What do you want to do with your life? Where are you going to go in life? Are you going to, it takes longer for guys to achieve the things that they want to achieve than it does for women, because men must become and women simply are. I'm not saying if they just get everything handed to them, but compared to guys, they get everything handed to them, or they could. I'm not saying every woman does. I'm saying any woman can. It's a very important distinction. So right around 30 is where that comparative SMV happens. So a woman starts to drop off, and again, people say, well, it's not that precipitous. It doesn't drop off that quick. Okay, well, fine. But at this stage, the reason I put comparative SMV here right in the middle is because that's where men are on their ascent and women are on their descent. They are less competitive in the sexual marketplace, however you define that. They are less competitive in the sexual marketplace because what contributes to sexual market value for a man and for a woman is different. We are different things. We are different people. The things that make a woman sexy at 23 declines with age. It decays. Women's sexual market value is perishable. Men's is perishable too, but it has a longer burn than women's does. And you can see this not just in my little half-ass, graph here, but you can see it in lots of other graphs as well. So you can look at it. If you look at it in terms of the accomplishments that men make in their lives, age of first marriage, age of first divorce, and lo and behold, the age of first divorce or first marriage, I should say, in the United States is around 29 and a half, maybe 30, somewhere between 29 and a half to 30 for guys. It's 28, maybe 28 and a half for women. Oddly enough, right at that comparative SMV age for both men and women. That's why right here, this is the nuts and bolts of it right here. So if you go and you look, and this is really kind of let me squeeze over here. This right here is everything you need to be concerned with for today's show. It's this right up in here. So right at that 30 stage is where guys make decisions that are going to affect them for the rest of this phase. So when you're making these decisions, when you're you want to know why guys who statistically speaking, couples that get married between 18, 19, 20, early in life, we go, oh, that's too early to get married. You need to explore your options and you need to play the field and you need to develop your career and you go girl, all that stuff. When men and women get married earlier, they tend to have a higher incidence of divorce. Why? Well, because you have all of this right here before you get to that divorce. And when guys get to 38 years old, peak SMV right about here, this is when guys go, damn, if I had waited longer, if I had listened to Rollo Tomassi, if I had said, oh, okay, I'm not going to consider monogamy until these ages right here. And again, I'm looking at the blue scale here, 32, 33, 34 years old. If I hadn't gotten married before this, or if I had done all that, I would have had much more sexual selectivity because now I've maximized myself out, or I have done a lot with my potential that I couldn't do when I was back here. And then I made a decision to commit to a woman right here while she's on her decline and I am on my increase. This is very important because what I'm going to get to next is SMV ratios. And you have to sort of process this and digest this in your brain here, because right at that point of comparative SMV, that's when women want you to be stupid. That's when they want you to not get the game. They certainly don't want you to be red pill aware. They want to be able to go from 20 to about 30, 29-ish. Somewhere in that 10-year span, that's women's party years. That's when they are maximizing their peak SMV years. So right about 22, 23, they're on top of the freaking world. They have more advantage than any other time, than any of the rest of this, all the way here. From 23 all the way to 70 or whatever it is. Now, some women might be able to sustain it a little bit longer than others, but on average, when you get to 70 years old, look at from 23 and let's just go from 30 and let's just say the woman lives to be 80 years old. For 50 years, that woman will have to deal with what the years from 23 or 22 until she got to 30 have taught her being in that power position. Again, the joke is this. The store is called Forever 21. It's not called Forever 41. Women don't look forward to the age of 41. They look at it with dread. In fact, this is when guys get to the peak SMV years, usually this is when women will complain that their husband or whatever is going through a midlife crisis. He's trying to recreate his youth, or now that he's got money and now he's reached his peak potential, he wants to go and buy a hot red sports car, right? Go watch, American Beauty. Kevin Spacey, one of Kevin Spacey's, I think one of his better movies. Now, whatever you think of Kevin Spacey, but the movie is fantastic because that guy, the character that Kevin Spacey is portraying in that guy is right about that age. He's got enough money. He played his cards right. Granted, he bailed out of the job he was in, but he was going through what we would stereotypically call a midlife crisis. It's not a midlife crisis. It's a guy getting to his peak potential and going, damn, I could have done things better had I waited longer. If I hadn't made that commitment, if I hadn't made these choices, if I hadn't made these decisions, I would be in a better position right now in my peak SMV years to be able to make those choices in the most efficient, most pragmatic, most self-interested way that I can possibly make them. So when you're at that point, it's not so much a midlife crisis. If it's a crisis of damn, I wish I would have known better. Again, why did I write book 2? Why did I write Preventive Medicine? So that you would be informed of this. Guys are still going to make that mistake, but that's what I'm talking about. So when you see a guy who's going through a midlife crisis, it's usually not a crisis, it's an epiphany for him because he goes, damn, I should not have gotten married back here. I should have got married here if I was going to get married at all. Because now I'm hitting my stride between the ages of, say, 33 and 38 or whatever. And she is on her decline. She's gone from, say 31 and she's hit the wall, but hit the wall figuratively, like in psychological terms. Maybe she's still good looking, whatever, but she is not as sexually marketable. She is not as whatever. She does not have the same sexual market value that she did when she was in her 20s. When you met her and you were having sex in the backseat of the car or wherever, you go and have hot monkey sex, marathon sex, wherever. And then you committed to her because you were ignorant of the game right around the comparative SMV age. Again, average age of first marriage for men, 29 and a half to 30 years old. This is a crucial time. There's 2 crucial times in men's lives. I put this on. Let me throw this on here real quick. I think I'm pretty much done with this anyways. It's funny is I keep this particular thing here. This is for women, right? This was a timeline. I think I'm going to do this. I need to do a timeline for guys. If I were to do a timeline for guys, now try to ignore all the stuff for women here for the second, but if I was to do a timeline for guys, like between 20 and 25, you want to, I'm not saying don't date and don't have sex and don't run game, whatever, but you need to be spinning plates. You need to be in control of your options during this time because it takes longer for you to mature when you get to peak SMV age of 37, 36, I don't know, wherever you want to call it, right? But there's 2 crucial ages for guys, according to this particular timeline. And that's going to be at the break phase, right around 17, 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there, because that's usually when guys are in that really, they're locked into the soulmate myth. They're really idealistic at this time. This is where you'll marry the girl who has all those red flags, right? This is where you'll find the BPD girl. This is where you'll have long distance relationships and you think they can work, right? Oh, we're going to make it work out. She's going to go to another college or she's going to move away to this town, but don't worry, I'm going to change my major so I can go be with her, right? Or I'm going to change my life because I'm just that guy, right? I'm supportive and I found the one for me. Like that's when guys, I think this is probably, you want to know where a lot of suicides come in the early days. Now for men, suicide, the highest incidence of suicide demographically is 45 to about 55, 60 years old. But there are other times where there's a higher propensity for suicide and suicidal thoughts. And that's usually right around the break phase. Again, because guys think that they're losing their one. They think that they're losing their shot at something good, right? Oh, she left me for some dude. I'm going to kill him and I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to kill her and shoot up at school, blah, blah, blah. That's a very fragile time for guys, not going to lie. And then you get into the party years and you get into the 30s and whatever. And then maybe when you get to 45 and you go through a divorce, that's when guys consider suicide again. Because they lose everything they invested, all that relational equity goes out the window, and they're paying child support or alimony or whatever it is that they're paying, and it seems like a better idea to off themselves than it is to rebuild themselves. I'm sorry to say, I know that's the ugly truth, but that's how it works. So those 2 crucial phases are right around the break phase, and then the other crucial phase is when a guy gets to be about 35, 36, 37 years old, because right around that phase is when guys are going to be like, well, now I'm hitting my stride. And you won't realize it until it's too late. And that's part of women's long-term plan. And I don't mean that they're fiendishly, I'm going to get this guy. It's this idea that that's the way it should be. And you, as a blue pill conditioned beta male, think that that's right too. Oh, it's okay. You know, we're going to get married. We're a young couple. We're going to have babies. We're going to follow the nice white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, nuclear family ideal. And we're going to have kids and we're going to go to church on Sundays and have a golden retriever in the yard. Right. That ideal is what you agree to or what you believe in your head because it's been pounded into your brain for so long. Or you need to be supportive, or you need to have an equal partnership. It needs to be egalitarian, and you need to do it like religion will reinforce this as well. Get married, have a family, save the West, that kind of stuff. And of course, and then you get to be 35, 36, 37 years old and you're in a sexless marriage, or maybe you're not, but you have the thoughts that had you waited to 35, 36, 37 years old, or if you are awakened while married, if you're in your 30s and you read The Rational Male, or you become more red pill aware, or you don't even have to read my book. You can just be more aware of it online or from communities or from just like stories that you see all the time that have sort of gender imperatives to them, or what you could have done had you waited, your life that could have been had you played your cards differently, but you didn't because you believed in a blue pill conditioned ideal. Or what you thought. I'm not going to say it's a lie, but it was an idea. In some cases it is, but like it was an ideal. You were idealistic about the decisions you were making when you were 29 and a half, right when that woman is entering her epiphany phase and has need of you. And you thought, oh, now she's finally seeing the light. This girl's finally waking up. All those guys in her past used her and hurt her. And now I'm coming along and she's finally can appreciate me. Her journey of self-discovery has finally come to an end. And now we're going to live happily ever after and have kids. That's exactly what modern Western women want you to do, want you to think. They want to have their cake and eat it too. And I don't mean this in the sense that it is like a fiendish, cognitively aware plot to ruin men's lives. They believe it too. They believe that that's the right way to go. That's a good idealized life path. If you don't believe me, go read Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, CEO of Facebook. She says as much in that book to young women. Date the bad boys, date the jerks, get with the hot fun guys, the commitment phobic boys, the guys who, and she says date, but bang those guys between your age of 21, 22 until such time as you have to cycle yourself out of the sexual marketplace. 29 to 31 years old, your epiphany phase, but do not marry the bad boys. And her words, not mine. Do not marry the bad boys, because what makes them sexy makes them bad partners or makes them bad husbands. Don't worry. There'll be a guy who wants to be your equal partner and who's waiting for you at 29, 30 years old. And apparently she's right, because that's the average age of first marriage for guys. Guys who don't see the light, guys who are still dumb and would really, really love to get with a girl and forgive her past indiscretions because they have a scarcity mentality, and that's just how they are. And so when they get to that point and they make those commitments and they don't realize that they are at their comparative SMV years, it's only a peak span of like 15 to 16 years. I put that in the list there. So from the time a woman is 23, that's her peak years, to the time that a guy is 36, 38, I probably could make it less than that. But like that's a peak span. So, and what I meant by that, right about 30 is when the comparative SMV is going up for guys and going down for women. So at that point, that's a dangerous time for women. That's a crucial time for women. They need a guy who has a scarcity mentality, is not used to getting, who still believes in blue pill ideals, still believes that, women are sugar and spice and everything nice. And here's the one, his ship finally came in. He's been a nice guy for all of his 20s. And now he's finally hit pay dirt, and he's finally met a girl who can appreciate him for being him. Because that's all he's said his entire life. It's like, well, I just need a girl I'll know she's the right one because she'll love me for me. You don't think women understand your bullshit idealism? Of course they do. They're happy to play along with it. They're happy to make you jump through hoops. They're happy to make rules for you, Mr. Beta, at that time. And you're stupid enough to go, yeah, I got to prove to her that I'm the right guy, because you've been doing it for the last, probably since you're like 15, 16 years old, because you believed in the blue pill bullshit. And now here you are. And she says, well, I need to wait till the third or fifth date to have sex with you because I need to feel comfortable. Right after, just 2 years ago, she was banging guys and a hot guy in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break. She was drunk. He was cute. And one thing led to another. He didn't have any rules. You have rules. And Mr. Beta loves those rules because they align with the idealism that he has to qualify and quantify himself and has to be that guy. So keep that in mind, because what I'm going to talk about right now is I'm talking about ratios. And this comes from an essay I wrote. It's actually a chapter in, I believe, book 2. And I have to. I'm just going to read through a little bit of this here. I can show it to you. It is in the description. The links are in the description here. Maybe I'll put this up on screen so you can see what I'm talking about. I wanted to read this because I think it's relevant to your understanding of SMV, because SMV changes, and that's the whole sort of the object lesson of today. If there's a lesson, here's your lesson plan, children. This is the lesson plan today. The lesson plan is that you need to know that SMV changes over time. Like when I talk about congruency, or I talk about how hypergamy is not a straitjacket, this is one of the elements. This is one of the variables as to the reason why I say hypergamy is not a straitjacket. So let me kick this up here a little bit. Did I get anybody else? No, I don't. Good. I know I've got some other ones in there too. Sam's keeping track of my supers. I will get to supers here in a little bit. However, I do want to read this, and this is from Rational Male. It's SMV ratios. More importantly, I wanted to throw some of these out here. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So one of the larger messages of this SMV life overview brings to light is the rise and fall of an individual's sexual market value according to their age and the personal implications that phase of their life has on affecting that valuation. That's the whole first part of the lecture today. Okay. That's what I'm saying, is that at different times in your life, your SMV is going to fluctuate. If you put on a lot of weight, if you are struggling, if your business fails, right? For a guy, if a woman is, a hot girl and then suddenly she puts on a lot of weight after marriage, her SMV has declined. You married her at one SMV and you're living with her and she's your wife at another SMV, at usually a lower SMV. Very rarely is it a higher SMV. For men, it can be the same thing. Women will say the same thing. Well, guys get fed too and they give up. Yeah, well, they do. Absolutely. And their SMV was different than when they are. But here's the thing. For women and men, what contributes to SMV is different. Primarily for men, a woman's SMV is evaluated, quantified by how good she looks, by physique, by body, body habitus, right? By the physical, by how hot she is, and how sexually available she is. And what are the two things that decline after marriage? Sexual availability, usually, and women give up, right? Especially after childbirth. And we have social convention after social convention that tell women it's okay. He should love you for you. He should love you because, and you probably do, but that doesn't make you want to have sex with her that much. And the biggest problem that lingers with women until they are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s is that sexual market value for women on some level of consciousness is conflated with personal worth. That's why. So when women say, if I say, well, that girl looks like she's an 8, women hate that. And guys who are allies and guys who have a feminized mindset like Philion, they hate that because they think it dehumanizes women. It's not. You're doing it naturally. And there's nothing wrong with being judgmental, by the way, but you're doing it naturally. You're saying, well, this woman I would bang, this woman I wouldn't bang. And we do that as men, as human beings, as human animals instantaneously, because over the course of evolution, we had to make instant judgment. Is this girl hot? Is she hot enough for me to want to bang? Yes. Okay. Now, is she available? Is her brother there? Is her father there? Is her husband there? Is the guy that's trying to mac on her there? Do I need to amog this guy? And so instantly we think of two things. Is she hot enough to bang? And is she available to bang? Don't believe me? That's why this instinct in guys' brains, the reason for that is because the reason why guys get addicted to pornography is because that's what they're looking for. Instantaneous gratification. Is she hot? Yes. Well, there's never any barrier to entry to getting off on porn. She's never got a headache, right? That's the joke. But there's other things that are attached to that as well. When you're jerking off the porn, when you see pornography, it's a virtual experience, and you're looking at this girl and you go, oh wow, she's hot. I do want to bang her, and there's no competition. I don't have to do anything to get to sex with this girl. Or virtual sex with this girl. Like a virtual sexual experience is just one click away. That's why pornography is free and ubiquitous. It's sedation. That's why porn is what it is today. And I love Sterling Cooper to death. I think he's a great guy. But let's be honest. That's why pornography is still popular today as it was when the 1960s, right? And Hugh Hefner was in business. So it's the idea of this instantaneous thought. It's an instinctual thing for guys. Is she hot enough? Yes. Okay. Is she available? Yes. Okay. Well, pornography? Yes. So I want to go jerk off, right? Or I'm going to go hit on that girl in the club. I'm going to go get to know her. I'm going to ask my friends, is she available? I'm going to try to determine availability. Things like that. Is her husband or boyfriend around? That kind of stuff. That's on an instinctual level. Now, I'm not saying that's what you're like cognitively thinking when you see a hot girl, particularly if you're watching porn. But like if you see a hot girl that or you're at school or you're in a social situation, whatever, you see her and you go, yeah, I want to tap that. When I met my wife in the club that night, I wasn't thinking, I wonder if she'd be a good mother of my children. I wasn't thinking that. I was like, I want to hit that. I definitely want to hit that. And she's available. I even asked that. I said, has she seen anybody? And they were like, no, she's available. I'm like, okay. And so game on, right? And so and one thing led to another, and that's that. But the idea of like the cognitive idea that, I'm going to go and hit that is really the only thing on your brain at that time. It's the same thing. It's because it's instantaneous. It's instinctual. You're not thinking in long term. I think it's kind of ridiculous when guys go, well, you need to vet for a good woman. So let's go to the club and go, she would be a good wife and she would not. And no, you're not thinking in those terms. Anyways, one of the larger messages this SMV life overview brings to light is the rise and fall of an individual's sexual market value according to their age and the personal implications of that phase of life. Okay. I originally published the SMV chart with the intent of enlightening men as to what their future SMV will be in relation to women's faster burning SMV. Okay, so I'm getting to God, boy, I'm good, man. I didn't even read this part. I was reading the last part. I was reading the last part, but I guess I still remember most of this stuff. Faster burning SMV. And the social conventions women and the feminine imperative have established in order to derail that awareness to better service women's sexual priorities and hypergamy. However, since then, I've seen this chart passed around the manosphere and into outside forums as an example of other related gender dynamics. The chart has other uses than my original idea, and it did. So this is the ennobled beta. With this in mind, I was debating the idea of a secure attachments in relationships with a friend over my summer hiatus. He's what I called an ennobled beta. Not necessarily guilty of outright white knighting, but is steeped in his matrix conditioning enough to conflate a prescribed male role in egalitarian equalism with masculinity. So what I meant by that, I'll spell this out for you in English right now. What I meant by that is that there are guys, you could say he's a blue pill white knight. Okay. That's one way. But another thing that I see a lot of guys do as part of their sexual strategy or their game, let's just say, is to adopt everything about egalitarian equalism because they think that it is a path to solving the reproductive problem. So what they do is they say, well, a real man, if you're really masculine, if you want to know what the real definition of masculinity is, it's being an egalitarian, it's being a cooperative guy, it's being an equalist, it's giving her due, right? Yeah, taking her seriously and having her be an equal partner. That makes you more of a man. That's what I was talking about here. Because a lot of guys, particularly guys who've been sort of steeped in blue pill conditioning for most of their lives, believe this. They think that the more egalitarian they are, the more they adopt the ideas of sort of emotionalism and this ideal of, well, we should all be equal. I'm a male feminist, right? They'll take it to that point. Most guys won't say I'm a male feminist unless they're like really, vegan, man bun over the top about it. But a lot of guys will conflate masculinity with egalitarianism. So that's what I was talking about. In other words, to him, to be a supportive husband is to presume a position of absolute equalism in his relationship. Since he subscribes to the feminized notion of an historic condition of male privilege, generally this means he believes that limiting his inborn masculine nature allows his wife to be more equal. Well, I am in the position of power. We live in a patriarchy and I'm the man. So if I lower myself beneath you to the point or lower myself to where we're equal, then my magnanimity of doing so will make me more attractive and my wife will love me that much more. So she doesn't look up to me. She looks right at me, right? But she wants to look up to you as a man. She doesn't really want you to do that, but you think because of social conditioning that the more equal you are, the more masculine you are, the more manly you are, the more secure in your masculinity that you are. So you say you come at it from this position of privilege and power and patriarchy, like, well, I'm the man, I have the penis, so I have to, if I want to live in this modern progressive society, I've got to lower myself to be, and in truth, you're not, you are already lower than her. Your brain was already, the fact that you believed in any kind of egalitarian ideal already puts you beneath her. And you never had the privilege and the power to begin with, but you believe you do. And you believe that the more you play even Steven with her, the better you are as a man. So something to keep in mind there. To him, real manhood is repressing his innate masculinity, such as it is, so that his wife will feel less inhibited in becoming something more than what a masculine society will permit. That's exactly what I was saying. Yes, it's a classic beta identification game. Nothing I haven't engaged already in the past. And yes, it's also classic feminist boilerplate that feminism has bred into contemporary males over the last 50 years now. What hit me during this conversation is the presumption of an idealized equalism that can in some way be realized between man and woman in an LTR. The reason the topic came up with us was due to his wanting for a wife to be more aggressive with him sexually. He simply couldn't grasp that his wife didn't want to take the initiative with him in the bedroom. Here he was explaining virtues of being a better male in his playing fair and even with his wife, yet for all of his giving her space to grow, she wouldn't be the sexual instigator and with him, despite his equalist expectations that she would feel comfortable being that instigator. That's the comfort thing. Like guys always think that, well, she'll want, if I make her feel comfortable, if I give her this little safe space for her to be sexual in, then she'll come and just be ravenous and want to tear my clothes off. This is a mistake most beta guys make, especially guys who are in that 80th percentile who can't believe their luck because they have that scarcity mentality. They can't believe their luck that one girl out of all these girls, his soulmate, finally said yes. And now she's not like the sexual animal that he wanted her to be. She's not the sexual animal that she was for the guys she didn't have rules for in her college days when she was so crazy in the foam cannon party in Cancun, right? That guy didn't have to jump through hoops. That guy didn't have to play by her rules or didn't have to do any. There were no rules for him. It was just freely given because she was really into it and she wanted to have sex with him and she was all about it. And now he wonders why she's not having sex with him or she doesn't want to get with him. And he thinks that the more he makes her feel comfortable and the more even they are and the more egalitarian they are and the more he is not like a typical guy repressing her sexuality or putting himself above her or trying to be the dominant alpha, puffing his chest up in his macho displays of, sort of acting like he's masculine. He thinks that by not doing that she will appreciate that. And she'll go, oh, I feel so comfortable. Now I can be my carnal self. Now I can strip off my clothes and just, ride you to glory. That's what he thinks is going to happen. And then he wonders why she's not initiating and he's the one that has to, and he's getting starfish sex. So it's because of the idea that we're equals. If you think that, I wanted to throw this is in my show notes as well. I have one of the other posts that's in the description here is a link to an essay I wrote called Submission. There's no such thing as an equal relationship between human beings. There will always be some sort of imbalance. whether that's hostility or money or sex or whatever. There's no such thing as a state of absolute equality because we don't live in a vacuum. When you read book 4, you'll get that. I actually put that one of the few essays I did put in this book is the lie of equality. And the idea that we can be just these egalitarian, equalist, sort of utopian bonobos who just like, oh, we're going to talk about who's going to have sex. Okay, let's debate how we're going to do it and who's going to do it with who, and it doesn't work like that. Even in homosexual relationships, there's always a dom and there's always a sub. There's always a dominant personality and a submissive personality. Usually, under traditional sexual dimorphism and gender roles, it's going to be the guy who is the aggressor, the initiator, the instigator, the dominant guy, and women are the feminine, submissive woman. And I mean submissive. I don't mean like, oh, you're crushing your soul. You're sublimated. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you give way to the guy. That's the natural way of things. Sorry, that's just simply how it is. But even when that's not the case, even when you say, oh, well, my wife, we're even, Steven, you show me a guy in an egalitarian relationship and I will show you a relationship or a marriage or whatever, where the woman is the one who's making the decisions for him. I can show you statistically how that works. Women, over the course of a family's history, from the time you get married to the time one or both of you die, women make 90% of the financial decisions for a family. I can show you the stats for that. So to say that, oh, we live in an egalitarian society, bullshit. Men go, oh, well, again, when I come back to mental point of origin and I start talking about like, well, what's the first thing that enters your mind when you're faced with a tough decision? Oh, or a life decision, or like it's going to affect you, affect your family, affect everything else. Is the first thing that jumps to your mind yourself, or is it what's she going to think? What's mom going to think? What's wife going to think? What's girlfriend going to think? Oh my God, I got this great job offer in New York, but now I got to move from LA to New York. And what's my girlfriend going to think? Or how can I maintain my relationship? If that's the first thing that's on your mind, rather than this is a great opportunity, I'm going to go. If that's not the first thing that jumps in your mind, you don't have mental point of origin. That's what I'm talking about. So when you're in that situation, there's no such thing as an egalitarian relationship. There's no such thing as an equal partnership. Show me an equal partnership and I will show you a relationship where the woman makes the decisions in that, like almost unilaterally makes the decisions in that, because guys who think that they're in an egalitarian relationship are there because, are afraid to experiment because she'll turn the pussy spigot off. Yeah. Not for you. And even if that's not the case, that's the threat point. Women always have threat point. Now, I talk about threat point in book 4, which is actually a term that Dalrock came up with. But threat point can apply to a lot of things, not just marriages. It can apply to sexuality. It can apply to other things. I'm going to also quote something else. This is the cardinal rule of relationships. The person in any relationship with the most power is the one who needs the other the least. I haven't heard this talked about in a while, but the person in any relationship, the person with the most power is the one who needs the other person the least. And I don't mean that that applies. It's not just about marriage or personal relationships. It can be your job. It can be your partnerships with your business partnerships. It can be whatever. Doesn't a family, a military, business, your wife, whatever. The person in any relationship, the person with the most power is the one who needs the other one the least. Go read 48 Laws of Power and you will have that made expressly clear to you how that works. And that's the way that it works in marriages. So if you are necessitous, if you say, well, I can only get laid with her, I can't do these things. Like, I will say this, like the doomers and the black pills and the Spurg pill and everything else, you're right about that. You're right about marriage. When guys get into it, they're 100% powerless. And it is an unconscionable contract, and you will sign on to it because you think it's the right thing to do as a guy. But when you do that, remember, when you're considering that, consider the cardinal rule of relationships. The one who needs the other the least is the one who has the power. And that's not just like, it's not like women fiendishly hold that. It's not like the sword of Damocles, right? They're not fiendishly maybe some do, but like, they're not fiendishly holding, if you don't do what I tell you to, I'm going to turn the pussy spigot off. I'm going to divorce you. I'm going to do these things to you. I'm going to make you feel bad. I'm going to take the kids away. That's not like jumping into their brain automatically. I mean, unless you're really on the rocks, right? Because it doesn't have to. Because for most guys, they're already thinking this. Well, she's got the upper hand. Because I signed my name on the dotted line, and so I have to keep the peace. And how do I keep the peace and still stay and still deal with the cognitive dissonance? Well, I say, well, we're in an equal partnership, even though you know goddamn well you're not in an equal partnership. Because if you try to assert your own, you want to know why it's really tough for guys to develop mental point of origin once they're in a long-term relationship or a long-distance relationship, or they're in a marriage for a long time with kids in it. It's really hard for guys to switch on that sort of self-interested mental point of origin, is because on some level of consciousness, they realize that they're not the one who needs the other the least eventually. And so they police themselves. They go, okay, well, I'll rationalize it some way. I'll call it an equal partnership. And I'll say, well, I'm a real man because I'm playing by the rules and I'm, supporting my wife and it's all equal and all even Stevens. Right. So keep that in mind. Anyways, let me keep going here. I want to move on here. Okay, so as I began here, SMV doesn't happen in a vacuum. Men may have an alpha dominance established only to have it knocked back down after failing a particularly bad shit test. He may rate lower or higher depending on social status. That's an influx. A woman must find ways to cope with an ever decaying SMV once she reaches her SMV peak and begins her decline towards the wall. Childbearing and rearing, weight gain, satisfying a security need, and many other factors also accelerate this process. So when we talk, I said this in the episode about the wall, is that when like the wall happens here, it happens when women acknowledge at some point that they are, or they have lost, or they will be losing their advantage in the sexual marketplace with their sisters, right? They're less able to intra-sexually compete with other women. So when a woman gets to be like 29, 30 years old, something at some point clicks. Maybe it does, maybe not so much now, maybe because of social media, but at some point, usually I peg this at the epiphany phase, but at some point it clicks in a woman's mind, even if she's not consciously aware of it. Something in her personality, something in her subconscious changes, and she says, I got to get right with God. I got to live a different way. I got to find a man with benefits. I got to do something, because the chuck wagon's pulling out, right? I'm not going to be as young as it's forever 21, right? Not forever 41. And I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And this guy will do, I got to get married. It's not, I got to marry him. It's, I got to get married. And that's where women usually start their marriage. You want to know why marriages end in divorce? Like, was it 40 or 50% now? Marriage is at an all-time low as it is, but why do most marriages fail? Two things: sex and money. The security side of things. And if you think about this in terms of hypergamy, what does sex and money represent to women? Like long-term security, right? Well, breeding, right? Alpha fucks and beta bucks. So though obviously those would be the top two things that would make women want to initiate 70% of all divorces. So I had to give you that because what I'm going to get to right now is we're going to talk about ratios here. So what I talked about here, so I'll just read the rest of it because it's easier to read this than anything else. The overarching concept in all of this is that the person with the person in the relationship with the superior sexual market value will at least be perceived by the other person of lesser value to need them less than the other. If it is established by concrete social proof that one person is higher SMV than the other, it's usually an accepted reality of that relationship. But bear in mind that it is the fluctuating perception of sexual market value, SMV, that has more influence on the attachment and strength of that relationship. The reason why this was really controversial when I wrote this is because I was relating sexual market value like differences and ratios to emotional attachments, which is a psychological thing. It's a psychological term. I'm not making this one up myself, right? It's a psychological thing. So like we talk about like secure attachments or insecure attachments, or there's some other designations of it, but for purposes of this concept anyways, The idea is this, is that depending on what the differential is in sexual market value, that will contribute to a secure attachment on the part of whoever has the lower sexual market value to the one that has the superior. Even if it's just by one step, there's an acknowledgement that that person is the one who needs the other the least. So this applies in situations just like this. Okay, who has the superior sexual market value of this couple? I think it's well established that from a sexual, unless the guy is an alcoholic, raging loser, which I don't think he is, because you have a body type like that. I mean, unless you're like on heroin or something, maybe whatever. But I think just by first glance, we can look at this and we can go, okay, I know what's going on here. There's an imbalance here because my innate instinctual instinct about sexual market value is being triggered by this. She should look like, was it Renee Summerfield? Go look her up. Sommerfield. That's a 9.5 on the, a 9.5, maybe a 9.7 on the Tomassi scale. Look up Renee Summerfield. Anyways, so he should be with her. He should be with the hottest chick he could possibly be with, but we see this imbalance here. Who do you think is the more insecure in this relationship? About the relationship, about who's going to cheat on who's going to, like in cases of like when I get guys tell me about Rollo, I don't want to learn game. I'm going to go doomer. Or I'm going to be a MGTOW or whatever because I can't win. It's best not to play the game. I'm just going to, I'm out. I tap out, right? I'm done. Well, the reason why you're done is because on some level of consciousness, you realize that your sexual market value is beneath whoever it is that you would want to have as your partner or as somebody that you'd want to have sex with. And I have to say this right now before I move on to the ratios here, because when I look at this, when I look at the girl, the lower SMV girl for the higher SMV guy, there's a sense of insecurity there. Well, women want to get with my man. When do women mate guard? Men will mate guard. We talked about mate guarding already. I did a whole episode on this. When do women mate guard? When they sense a risk or a risk of loss of not only just hot sex, but also a loss of resources and provisioning. So it's not just when women mate guard, it's not just a loss of provisioning, and particularly today, because women can at least have the perception that the beta buck side of hypergamy is already established, or in some way it's ensured to greater or lesser degrees. The fear of loss right now is for when women mate guard is this guy is the hottest guy that I can get, and I'm going to be paranoid that other women are going to want to bang him because the social proof is everywhere. In fact, he's in a picture, right? He's in the magazine article with me. He's the hot guy. That's what makes us special. I'm the fat guy. I'm the fat girl who got the hot guy. So let's write an article about it. Who's going to be in this relationship? And I don't know anything about them personally, but in this relationship, just looking at their body types and just looking at, the interaction there. Do you think that she thinks that she's on an equal level with him? Like he's certainly better looking than she is. I don't know how much money he makes, but remember the Patrice O'Neal joke, which is a woman wants a guy who is taller than him or taller than her, which he is, more muscular, more built, more dominant, more richer, has more money, is more intelligent, has all of these things. Again, this is why hypergamy doesn't seek its own level. So a guy who the ideal guy, he's beautiful. He's got his shit together. He's hitting his stride. He's making a lot of money. He's a leader of men. He's the guy that other women want to get with and other men want to be. That dude right there. She wants society in a gynocentric sense wants women to believe that guy is her equal. That we're egalitarian. We're going to play even Steven, right? That the cardinal rule of relationships doesn't apply to them. That it doesn't apply to women in the sense that, well, if a woman is fat, it shouldn't matter because it's what's on the inside that counts, right? It's not what's on the outside that counts. Beauty is just a social construct. Bullshit. And the reason it's bullshit is because they're writing articles about exactly this, about the incredibleness of seeing past the physical and just finding who that person is as your soulmate. Well, maybe the guy's just into fat chicks, first of all. And then second of all, it's you can see that, again, it's man bite dog. It's the exception to the rule, which is why we find it exceptional. It's an anecdote, yes, but it's why we look at this and we go, oh, hot damn. Oh, and women go, oh, there's hope for me. I can get a guy who's hot like this. I deserve that. I'm entitled to that. So a belief in egalitarian equalism throws all the sexual market, all the realities of the sexual marketplace and sexual market value and the cardinal rule of relationships out the window, replaced with emotionalism and egalitarian and ideals and crazy notions of egalitarian equalism and the blank slate, right? So, it doesn't matter that he can't get hard for, what Oprah's husband can't get hard for her because she's grossly overweight. She's still, that's not an aphrodisiac. All her money and all her specialness and everything is not an aphrodisiac for most guys, for the average guy. So, guys will say, oh, she's curvy. That's you making up rationales for why this works or why it should work or why it should work for you. When guys talk about their sexual preferences, when they talk about, I like cougars. I like fat chicks. I like girls with a little more meat. You know what that is? That your preference is, that seems to you on some level of consciousness the easiest way from point A to point B. Because usually, all things, out in the wild, you are going to be aroused by certain things that are intrinsic to making you aroused, right? You see the centerfold and you go, I want to get on that. It's instinct. Now, I'm not saying that it's not modified by society and beauty standards of those particular cultures or ethnicities. There are modifiers to it, yes. But again, you see that and you see that difference there. Now, what happens? What happens when there's that imbalance? Now, I wrote this and I was going to put it on the screen, but I'll just put this on there. So there's different balances here. So I'm going to talk about the 1-to-1 balance. This is where the guy is an 8 and the girl is an 8. That's true neutral. There's just, it's absolute parity. Okay. So I'm going to talk about that one first. And that is this is the position of true neutral. I'm starting here with this because this ratio is the mythological ideal every equalist will tell you they're striving for. Be they male or female, what adherents of equal balance fail to consider is that real sustainable equilibrium in the sexual marketplace is an impossibility. And I'll tell you why it's an impossibility, because women get older and men get older and our circumstances change, our conditions change. As I showed you on the sexual market value or on the S&P graph, that point of intersection between a woman on her declination and a man on his ascent, that right there, if there's any time in your life where it will be a 1-to-1 ratio, a neutral ratio, that will be it right there. Where you're both or in equal partnership and waiting for you, and wants an opinionated woman and wants to do his part and change diapers too, right? We're all equal. It's a myth because it doesn't last. It never lasts. And again, remember what I said, the joke. Men marry women because they think they'll stay the same, and then women marry men because they think that they'll change. So the truth is that their ego investment. What every modern woman had. Sorry, let me keep going here. What every modern woman and gelded male in a long-term relationship will tell you is that they believe they are common examples of what sexual market value equilibrium looks like. The truth is that their ego investment in that equalist idealism won't allow for the real introspect necessary to accurately evaluate what their true individual sexual market value really is. So both in relation to themselves and the greater whole of society in their demographic. Okay, so what that means is this, is even when you think as a guy, we're at 1-to-1, even maybe the woman does, that woman is still influenced by social modifiers that says she's hotter, she deserves better. When it comes to hypergamy, women aren't looking for 1-to-1. They're looking for like a 2-to-1. They're looking for you to be one step above them. That to them is a beneficial, that is at least one step towards optimizing hypergamy. So when a woman is with a guy, like she's an 8 and he's an 8, or he's a 6 and she's a 6. And again, those are abstract terms, however you want to define them. But when they both have that parity right there, it's still in the woman's favor to look for something that's better. This is where guys get the doom and gloom thing. Oh, she's always going to find somebody better than me. Oh. Yeah. That would be true, Mr. MGTOW, Mr. Black Pill, Mr. Doomer. That would be true if things didn't change. If women didn't get older, if men didn't get older, if men didn't improve didn't maximize their potential, yeah, you're 100% right. But that ain't life, man. That ain't how it works. The reality of it is women get older, men get older. Women who are 23, they're in the peak of their power, right? They're like, oh my, she can get $100,000 a month from OnlyFans. I can't believe it. She's 22. It's so unfair, right? Now talk to her when she's 42. Is she making the same kind of money? Is she married? Is she divorced? What's happened in that 20 year span? Even 10-year span, 32 years old. Is she still the same person? Is she, what was it? Sterling Cooper was saying that like the average demographic of women who get into porn is somewhere between like 18 and I think 24. And then they get cycled out. Like 24 years old, 25-year-old porn star girl is like old for a fresh face. And then they go off the market for a little while. And then this is according to Sterling. Hopefully I'm paraphrasing Sterling here. And then about 35, then they can be a MILF and then get back into the industry if they want to. But there's that era. What I'm saying is that illustrating with this is that SMV fluctuates, and how women can parlay that into money, into power, into choices, into creating a life for themselves in the future. How they parlay that is subject to those variables. So it's not just one-to-one. We're not always one-to-one. So when guys get all doom and gloom, they think that they're way lower than the girl that is way, way higher. So a one-to-one sexual market value equilibrium doesn't exist. I'm sure there will be naysayers who feel they play it fair with their wives or their girlfriends, but the fact remains that SMV is always in flux and doesn't allow for a true sustainable equilibrium. Hypergamy is an example of this. Fail one too many shit tests and your equitable 1-to-1 ratio slips to 2-to-1 in that woman's favor. So remember, this is perceptual. So guys will say this to me. They'll say, Rollo, how is it that this guy who is clearly a 7 or is a loser, he's a schmuck, he's a drug addicted son of a bitch, and he's got the hottest. I always see this guy with the hottest girlfriend, and she just can't get enough of him. She's a ride or die girl, dude. She's like a 9.5, and he's like a 6, and he sucks. Why isn't she after me, man? What do I got to do? How do I get the hot girl like that? How do I get to that? Well, there's variables in that. So is she always going to be hot? Probably not. I don't know how she takes care of herself, but there's something in between. Again, that discrepancy, maybe he is a 1 and she is a 4 in like differential between sexual market value, right? But she still wants to get with that guy. Well, there might be some personality issues there. There might be some daddy issues there. She might, on some level of consciousness, or maybe acknowledge or not, she recognizes or she has a perception that that guy's value is not what you think it is. That value that 6 has, that drug addicted, heroin chic, long haired freak who sings on a stage or whatever, who is nowhere near as alpha as you are, that guy, on some level of consciousness, she perceives him to be way higher, maybe even higher than herself. And that's why she puts up with it. You want to know why battered wives go back to guys who beat the shit out of them? Because they don't think they can get any better. Perceptual. You want to know why the pimp hand works, or Stockholm syndrome for that matter. Women are far more predisposed to Stockholm syndrome. It's like the war brides dynamic. I even talked about that before. Is that once that woman has a perception that this guy is the highest, is the best she can do. Remember, what's the hypergamous stout? Is he the best I can do? If perceptually the guy who's the 6, who's the guy that you think is a son of a bitch, that guy, if she perceptually sees him as the best she can do, oh man, there's nobody that I'm going to get better than that. If that, it doesn't matter. The reality of it makes no freaking difference. And you say, well, he's going to kill himself, or he's going to, end up in jail, or hell, end up in jail. He'd probably be hotter, right? He's going at some point and somewhere along the line, that woman perceives him as better than the average guys that are in her sort of orbit or in her sexual marketplace, whether that's global or that's local. That's how you get those discrepancies. It's a perceptual thing, especially with women. It's very perceptual. So what you do as a guy, and I've done this too, so no shame here, but like guys will try to figure out on a rational, logical level and say, well, this guy, what is she, nuts? There's something wrong with her. She must be damaged. No, she's not damaged. Or maybe she is, but like on some level, she perceives him to be higher level than she is. Again, cardinal rule of relationships. The one with the most power is the one who needs the other the least. If she thinks that she needs him more than he needs her, he can be a 6 and she could be a 9. You know, it could be a financial thing. You want to know why guys can go over to Southeast Asia or whatever and clean up with girls is because they don't need the girls that are there, and the girls need them more than they need them. So yeah, that's a financial differential, and you can apply that to sexual market value if you want to, because there is a certain amount of socioeconomic influence that goes into contributing to sexual market value. So when a girl in the Philippines who's got nothing, she's dirt poor and she's hot, and the guy's like, "Hey man, I've got the golden ticket. Come to America with me." And then he gets with it. It's so now, of course, that guy thinks that he's on top of the world because he thinks he did something right. No, it's just a differential between sexual market value, perceptual sexual market value. So that's the 1-to-1 balance right there. I got more on that, but I'm gonna move on. 2-to-1 is this. Royce has defined this ratio 2-to-1 in the past as the golden mean of sexual market value between the genders. So long as the man is the one on the beneficial side of it, which is what I was just describing. The most successful, stable, and loving relationships don't result from being equally yoked. They result from a mutually acknowledged SMV superiority of a positively masculine male and his adoring yet subconsciously anxious woman who's up to a point below him in sexual market evaluation. So if you are 1 point above her, or perceptually she sees you as being 1 point above her, and you're in a long-term relationship, that's when you can get the woman who's going to do things for you. She's going to want to initiate sex. She's going to want to maybe break rules for you. Maybe not at this level, but let's just say for sake of argument, she might not be ride or die girl, but she's going to be the girl who's thinking about you. She's going to be the one who really wants to get with you, who she tells her friends about, tells her mom about. If you're not the best she can do, you're certainly the best she's done up to this point. So perceptually, if she thinks on some level, and again, I'm quantifying this, but if she thinks on some level, well, I'm a 7 and he's an 8, boy, man, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I really, oh boy, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. He's so sweet. That's when you'll hear women will start to make excuses for red flags with the guys. Now, this goes the other way too. So there, you can see this imbalance also within guys and girls. So I'll get to that here in just a second. Some guys get into this position by default, either by genetics, prior hard work, or simply being single at the phase of life when his SMV is peaking while hers is in decline. Okay. So remember, just because let's say for sake of argument here, you are 33, 34 years old. Let's say you're 30 years old and you are SMV 7. And the girl that you want to get with, the girl that likes you, like she's 28 years old and she thinks of herself, perceptually thinks of herself as an SMV 8. You might not even ever get a chance with her. She might be out of your league, right? 2 years later, while you're 32 and now she's 30, her circumstances have changed. She's in her epiphany phase. Now, perceptually, she thinks of herself as a 6 and you're still a 7. Or she still thinks of herself as an 8, but now you're a 9 because you have more of what she needs. She's necessities wise. You're still good looking. You're still hot. She still is attracted to you, or aroused by you, but she's more attracted to you now because you're on your way up. Because now if you're not hitting your stride, you're about to hit your stride, and she's picking up on that, and you become more attractive and more if not more arousing, then as arousing as you were before. And now you got a shot with her because her declination, her descent, the decay and the perishableness of her sexual market value has now offset that. So now you went from being 2-to-1 in her favor to being 2-to-1 in your favor. Because of 2 years or something circumstantial happened, or you won the lottery. Now suddenly you have higher value, or your business takes off, or you did something, you wrote the great American novel, or you had the top 40 album or something like that. Now suddenly you made it. Now your SMV climbs. And usually that's as a result of her perception of it, of course, but it's also of other people's perception too. So if suddenly you were 30 and you weren't making much money and you were just, you're good looking enough that you got some attention from other women. Now that you're 33 and you've got some success behind you, and even if you go from being like, say, you go from being sort of skinny and you put some muscle on, that's also another variable that you can add to that increases your sexual market value. That's the easiest way to illustrate this. But not only is she seeing this, like if there's a woman that's interested in you, not only is she seeing this from her perspective of, oh my God, he is one step above me now. She's also seeing it from her girlfriends. And that's really how social proof and pre-selection work. Because now not only is she interested in you, but her girlfriends are also interested in you. They go, oh, Jim's really hot these days. I would love to get, what's he doing? Is he back in town? That kind of stuff. Even just like casual pre-selection and social proof comes into play. That also increases your sexual market value, all as the result of 1 or 2 years of age, because she's on her decline and she's like on some level of consciousness thinking, well, it's not, the party's going to be, they're going to turn the lights off at the party pretty soon. And I'm going to have to walk out of here with one of these guys. And this guy seems like he's on his ascent right now. And I'm on my descent right now. So does that suddenly you go from not being the best she can do to being the best she can do. And oh my God, he's got potential to be even better as a result of this while I'm on my declination. So that's 2 to 1. I'm giving you this in 2 to 1 because there's other ones here too. There's 3 to 1 and 4 to 1 as well. So as I said, some guys get into this position by default, either by genetics or prior hard work, or simply being single at a phase of life when his SMV is peaking while hers is in declination. So when a woman gets to say like 33 years old and she's just past the epiphany phase and she's single and childless and has no other options, and here you are, 36 years old, 38 years old, you're at the top of your game. That's definitely going to change SMV perceptions of that woman over you. And guys, you need to be aware of this because her SMV is going to go down, generally is going to go down while yours is going to go up and then level off and then come down. So a man need not necessarily be an alpha cad to establish this ratio. All that's required is an acknowledged recognition of his SMV imbalance and the appropriate appreciation and adoration from the woman involved. There are plenty of betas who enjoy or eventually will enjoy the benefits of a 2 to 1 ratio, even when they don't or refuse to recognize an SMV imbalance that weighs in their favor. Most guys experience this right at that point, right at the 30-year-old mark, right at the point where she's on her declination, she's in the middle of her epiphany phase, and he's on his ascent. That's the comparative SMV age right there. Again, why do men on average have their first marriage at 29 and a half to 30 years old? This is why, because they don't realize this. They don't recognize this. And that's what women are looking for. They're looking for a guy who doesn't realize that he should think that he needs her more than she needs him, when really it's the opposite way around. So at that point, that's when you're going to see more marriages. That's when you're going to see guys get shamed into it. Well, you should, or you'll hear it from tradcons all the time. Like, oh, guys are just trying to perpetuate their adolescence. They're just trying to be kidults for the rest of their lives. The reason why you get shamed into that is because on a societal level, on a gynocentric societal level, and yes, even traditional conservatives will do the same thing. Guys should be the ones who are facilitating and preparing themselves so that when women's SMV declines, that they're there to save the day, that they're there to benefit those women and that feminine imperative, but also their interests in the long term for children, for whatever. And not only that, you got to pretend that even though you have a superior position, that you don't have a superior position, that you're just equals. And for the most part, most beta guys don't realize that they have that differential because they don't, God forbid a man actually get cocky enough or becomes aware of his own value to women. And I wrote about that in The Threat, which is also in book 1. So that's that side. From a female side, a 2 to 1 ratio is generally what most modern women find themselves dealing with. Okay. Meaning this is that the woman is one step above the guy. So through realized fact or by self-deluded overestimation of their own SMV, most women already presume they are the party with the higher SMV. They already believe that they are, whether or not that's true or not. Again, this is social media and all that good stuff. These are the naggers, the browbeaters, the women who wistfully and aggravatedly wish their men were more than they are. These are the women who made the bad bet. These are the women who are saying, "Oh, I hope I'm betting my life on this guy. I hope he turns out into a guy with benefits and he makes something of himself," and he doesn't. These are the ones. These are the guys who are the marriages where the woman is in charge of the marriage, which is to say a lot of marriages. So the woman recognizes that, okay, he's beneath me, or I did not marry well. I did not optimize hypergamy. I married a guy who is one step beneath me, or maybe even a 1-to-1, like one, at her own sexual market value or below that. That is like that. And once that happens, and especially if it's like a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1, that's when that women, rarely does that happen, but like that's where women get freaked out, because it triggers the existential fear. Oh my God, I married a guy who's not going to amount to anything. It's a danger to myself, to my children, and to my future. I got to get out of this. In that case, you might be right. That's when we get into the area of dissatisfying long-term relationships. And yes, that's when hypergamy kicks in, and the guy who looks like he's a better option or a better shot than the guy that she's married to, that's when she's going to cheat. That's when she's going to file for divorce. That's when you're going to get marital instability as a result of that. Marital instability happens when that woman can't respect that guy. And how does that happen? Because she has to believe that she married well, that she married above her own sexual market value. She has a beneficial pairing with the guy that she was with. So if the guy is a let's say a 7, and she considers herself a 6, that's a 2-to-1 ratio. He's one step above her, so it's not 1-to-1, it's 2-to-1. So that's great. But if it's the opposite, if he's the 6 and she's the 7, and she originally thought he was a 7 or maybe even an 8, it turns out to be more like a 6. And again, these are abstract terms, but when that happens, when she has that realization, that's when the existential fear for women triggers. And she's like, oh my God, this guy's a danger to me, a danger to my life, a danger to my future, a danger to my security. And for the most part, women will step up into that. That's when women will step into the masculine role. That's when women will become wear the pants, right? They'll be the woman, the head of household. That's when women will say, they'll make the rules. That's when you hear a guy say, I got to check with the boss. That is a 2-to-1 ratio in his wife's favor right there. At least a 2-to-1 ratio. Usually women in a 3-to-1 ratio that benefits the guy rather than her, that doesn't last long. That usually there's a breakup, or he doesn't even get to that point. When you get into a marriage where the power differential is the woman thinks that the man needs her more than she needs him, when you get those power balances where she makes the rules and she tells you where you can go and what you can do and what you can spend and what you get, all that kind of stuff, that's a 2-to-1 ratio in her favor right there. Because at some level, and again, it comes back down straight to the reproductive side of things. It comes down to the sexual side of things. It comes down to the gender differentials between men and women. So that's that. So anyways, I'll just read the rest of this. These are the naggers, the browbeaters, the women who wistfully and aggravatedly wish their men were more than they are. They crave the SMV imbalance that a dominant alpha would satisfy, yet through their own ego investments or due to their inability to lock down an alpha, they must regulate themselves to being the less necessitous partner in the LTR. Okay, this is 3-to-1 now, and I'll stop with this one because I don't want to carry on too long. I think you guys get the point here. 3-to-1 is this. So you're 2 steps above, right? So your girlfriend is a 6 and you're an 8. And in this case, I would argue that the guy that's in our picture today, this dude, I would say this is a 3-to-1 ratio right here. I mean, just from looking at the pictures here, I would say this is a 3-to-1 ratio. So that's what I'm about to describe to you here. This is this. While this is a tenable situation for a man, it borders on unhealthy. Marginal frame, notoriety, and an actualized condition of widely acknowledged social proof can make for a 3-to-1 ratio, SMV ratio. Now, only in a gynocentric social order does this happen. Okay. The good, hot look, the hottest guy. Like guys will say, well, what about like Hugh Jackman? Like Hugh Jackman has been married to his wife is like much older than him and she's much fatter than him. Now, before he was Hugh Jackman, before he was a celebrity, before he was like, what is it? People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive one year when he was 40 years old. Before all of that, he was with this woman. Now his blue pill mentality is really what led him to be like people say that, doesn't Hugh Jackman know that he's Hugh Jackman? Doesn't he know that he can have like any chick he wants? Why does Brad Pitt put up with bullshit Angelina Jolie's crap, right? Or why does a guy like Johnny Depp deal with Amber Heard? Well, it's a lot of that is mentality, and a lot of that is the social situations that they're in, and the social expectations, and what they've been brought up to think should be the way things are, right? So when you got this guy right here, when you got the dude, who knows? Who knows? I don't. Maybe he's into fat chicks, but I would also argue if he's doing like photo shoots like this, professionally done photo shoots like this for magazines, he probably subscribes to a very blue pill ideal of egalitarianism. He probably subscribes to the idea that it's all about what's on the inside. He's probably been very feminized in his thinking when it comes to relationships, when it comes to men and women. So you could look at this guy and you could say the same thing. Doesn't he know he's hot? He could get any chick he wants. Maybe not any chick, but he could certainly have a better chick than this if he wanted to get with a better, physically better woman like this. And women will say, well, that's not what's important to him. Maybe he just loves her. And that's what they're hoping. They're hoping that. They're hoping he's ignorant. Doesn't he know he's hot? He probably does know he's hot, but like women don't want him to know that he's hot. Oh, he's sweet, right? Remember when Keanu Reeves showed off pictures of his girlfriend, who is actually younger than he is, but looks like she looks like she's in her 60s. And he's I think he's about as old as I am. He's like 55, maybe he's a little older than me. And so what do women do? They loved it. They go, oh man, he's with an age appropriate woman. No, she looks like she's his mother. But women love that. They think that, well, that's great. Or you look at age differentials. Now, age is usually something that's a little strange here. So if you got like Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore, right? When that was going on, women were just, oh man, there's hope for us, ladies. We can have a hot young guy now, finally. Oh, justice, right? That was the whole mentality. Now, of course, that didn't work out. But when they were still together, that's what women were saying. Oh, this is great. Now I can be a cougar. Now I remember selling flavored vodkas to women in the mid 2000s who would tell me how inspiring Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher were. And I'm here, ladies, buy some more booze. That's fine. Like drown your sorrows, because that's bullshit. That is an anecdotal, woman bites dog, man bites dog. Like that's an exception to the rule. And it's exceptional because the rule says otherwise. But here we have, this is the imbalance, right? I would argue that this is a 3-to-1 imbalance, meaning that he would be like an 8 and she would be a 6, right? So there's that differential right there. I'm probably butchering ratios, whatever. I get it. But so anyways, he's above her, and it's recognizably above her. So much so you could even argue this is a 4-to-1, but I don't think so. You could even say, so recognizably, her girlfriends probably say, man, I can't believe you landed this guy. I can't believe you locked him down. Now, usually if a guy's that hot, if a guy's that good looking and the girl is fat, and I've seen I know that there's a show, don't give me the links. I know there's a show like, More to Love or something on Lifetime or some shit like that. Don't send me those. Okay. So anyways, when it comes to those imbalances, those sexual market balances, a 3-to-1 is usually only tenable for a little while, because what happens is when the woman is that low, she's got to be really super secure, because most women will get into mate guarding mode right then, because they realize, oh my God, not only is this guy the best I can do, he's the best that any of my other girlfriends could possibly do too. Women want to bang this guy. He is most definitely confirmed, the guy that women want to fuck and guys want to be. Guys want to look like this, and guys and women want to bang guys like this. You're that guy. He must know. He's in a man. He must know he's above me, and yet here he is. He still loves me, and blah blah blah. It's very Disney and Pixar, and it's all about what's inside kind of thing. And so usually what happens is you get an insecurity thing. I've seen guys like this. I wanted to use this example. I think I might've put it in the article itself. When you get to that 3-to-1 imbalance between men and women, it's usually the guy who is like a personal trainer, or he's a guy who makes a living being good looking. Maybe he's a Chippendales dancer or whatever. Maybe whatever he is, he's an actor, he's a model. 4-to-1 is definitely that situation, but 3-to-1, he's just good looking enough, just successful enough to know that he needs, or she needs him more than he needs her. And it's obvious. It's apparent. And you can look at that, a picture like this, and you know that that's the case. When that happens, that's when women will, God forbid that woman is BPD, because that woman will fuck your life up, will ruin your life, because she will become very possessive, very overweening, very just, clingy. And guys who are in the same situation where there's a 3-to-1 and the girl is well above his own SMV, if that guy becomes clean, he better be secure, and he better have his shit together. He better have his game on, because the only way that that's tenable, a 3-to-1 imbalance in favor of the guy, the only way that that's tenable is when that guy has something that's offsetting. It's maybe he's got a lot of money, maybe he's got a 10-inch dick, I don't know. Whatever he's got that is offsetting the rest of that, the sexual market value, he better stay on top of that. He better recognize that he has that, and he better not lose his step. You got to pass every freaking test at that point and figure things out for yourself and say, okay, I'm in this situation because of X, Y, and Z, and then maintain that. That's a lot of work. And I'll be the first one to say that is definitely a lot of work for guys to do. And maybe most guys don't have the patience for it. And unless they are like type A alpha type guys, and then maybe you're offsetting the SMV with that. So I'm going to keep reading this real quick. Where does it say? Only the most secure of women in this ratio pairing don't suffer from a state of passive dread. Again, this is the dread thing. While a 2-to-1 pairing may force a woman to deal with marginal self-doubt and underlying competition anxiety, a woman in a 3-to-1 pairing will have to confront the dread of loss that accompanies a less stable pairing. From a hypergamic perspective, she's hit the evolutionary jackpot. Sexual pairing with a mate she wouldn't normally have access to. Fat women who garner the drunken attentions of an out-of-options man of higher SMV make for the most common occurrences of a 3-to-1 pairing. Irrational jealousy and accidental pregnancies are, quote-unquote, are not uncommon in this pairing. I should point out that a 3-to-1 pairing may also be the result of a 2-to-1 pairing that lasted into the man's peak years and bumped him up that 1 point. Or more likely, the woman depreciated down a point or more as she hit the wall. That is the crux of all of this. So when I talk about the variables that happen, like you could be in a 2-to-1 pairing. Okay. You married your girlfriend at 28, 29, whatever, 30, and you were one step above her, right? And she recognized that. She's into you. She loves you. She's do anything for you. You have kids together, whatever. And now you hit you're 36 and your kid's a little bit older. She has lost SMV, and women know that they will lose SMV over the course of time. Women on some level of consciousness realize that their sexual market value is perishable, and that their only real true innate sexual market value is agency is tagged to their sexual market value. That's why women get upset when you turn them down sexually and they take it as an ego hit, because what you're doing is you're saying your sexual market value is tagged to your self-worth, ladies. And a lot of women do that. They'll conflate their sexual market value with their personal worth. So when I talk about sexual market value, I think it sounds dehumanizing and horrible. And oh, you're commodifying us. Well, women commodify themselves, first of all. And then second of all, no, I'm not. The only reason why you think that is because women innately tag and pair their self-worth with their sexual agency, or the agency that comes with their sexual market value. So yeah. Of course, when I talk about it, it sounds heartless and horrible and cruel, and it is. In some ways, it is. But it's not that I'm saying you're a bad person, ladies. I'm just saying your sexual market value has decayed. So what happens is you got a guy that's now 36 years old, and he's made partner in the law team, or he's a surgeon. He's done with his residency, and now he's hitting his stride. And this is when women really start worrying about the guy that they married when they were in their late 20s, in their epiphany phase, who was young and dumb and stupid enough to marry them. And now he's become something more. He's maximized his potential, and they worry that he's going to go fuck the secretary, that he's going to go bang the hot blonde. He needs a trophy wife now, not you, not dumpy ass you, ladies. That's what, and they beat themselves up. Oh, some ladies will beat themselves up over this. This is why women will say, well, this is why we need divorce laws. Yeah, because the apex example of that guy who happened to do exactly that, who happened to realize that he is this guy in the picture, that he is Hugh Jackman, that he is Brad Pitt, that he is now a higher value guy, and now you're in a 3-to-1 pairing. That's when women go, oh, they start losing their shit. That's when women get really obsessive, and they get really paranoid, and they get really possessive. And that's when you see, that's when women will start creating drama in the relationship with a guy, because they think it's the only way to sort of rein him in. Oh, where are you going? What are you doing? You're under surveillance, right? Like, oh, where are you coming home right after work? You're not going to the strip club, are you? You're not spending time with Sherry, your secretary, are you? Like that kind of stuff, that obsessive kind of thing. Guys in this situation, is almost never happens, because usually he gets kicked to the curb before it could ever happen. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it can happen if circumstances in the relationship drop him below her 2 points. Therefore, you've got a 3-to-1 ratio. So she's at whatever she is, and you're 2 points below. So now you are at a 3-to-1 or 1-to-3, I don't know, whatever. So you're 2 points below her. So it could happen. It could happen either way. Again, this is why hypergamy is not a straitjacket. Things change. And this is also, remember what I was saying before, and I'll end with this. There's actually 4-to-1 and 5-to-1. I'll let you guys read those, because I need to catch up with some of these super chats, and I will here in just a moment. But I want you to get the basic idea of this before I'm already 2.5 hours in. I want you to get the basic idea of this. So there is 4-to-1, there's 5-to-1 as well. And that's really kind of like almost like insanity level, right, of possessiveness. But it can happen where a guy goes, and again, it's circumstantial. It could be the conditions. A guy's condition could go from being a fat fuck and being like a world-class bodybuilder. Now, again, that's exceptional. Again, man bites dog. It could happen, and it could happen both ways. But you need to remember, when it comes to sexual market value, things change. So guys, if you're in your 30s right now, or if you're in a marriage, you married early and you're going, God, I regret, God, why did I do that? Or you might be thinking, oh, she's a quality woman. I married her and she's so hot and she's so fun, right? Well, yeah, but women are making a bet. They're making a bet that you're going to be emotionally invested in her enough to ignore the fact that you could have maximized your potential a whole lot differently had you played your cards right and you waited it out a little bit more. Why do women get pissed off at Rollo Tomassi when he says, guys, don't consider monogamy until you're 30 years old, and don't consider marriage, assuming you ever consider marriage? But if you do, for religious reasons, or you want to start a family or whatever, again, I'm not advocating. I'm just saying, if that's something that you absolutely have to have, don't consider it until you are hitting your stride, because you will be in a position of sexual selection that you couldn't be in otherwise. And women don't want you to realize that. So that's why they get pissed off at me, because they know, again, women understand on some level of consciousness that their sexual market value is declining. And if some guy comes and says, guys, hold out, wait for the good ones, build yourself up, get to the point where you're a good judge of character, you understand women's nature, you're red pill aware, you're making educated decisions. Even if you decide to get married, you're making it based on educated, what the risks are. You're not walking in like, I don't know. So when I say that, women get pissed off, because they realize that from the time they're 23 to the time they're like 73, 83, who knows, however long. I hope you live a good long life, ladies. But the majority of women's lives will be spent in a state where sexual agency is at a very low threshold for them. They go from being very high SMV by default, or just by consideration. They go from being high SMV, even considering themselves to be high SMV, whether it's real or it's not, the perception is all that matters, to being low SMV, to declining, to being, let's just say this, lesser sexual market value than the girls they're in competition with for you in the long term. So guys will say, well, women are the gatekeepers to sex and men are the gatekeepers to commitment. I wish that were true. Women are really also the gatekeepers of commitment as well, because if they don't select you, they don't select you. But you have to remember that women, as they age, become far more necessitous than you think. But they maintain the perception that they have power over you. They maintain the perception in the cardinal rule of relationships. They maintain the perception that you need them more than they need you. And that is absolutely not the truth when you get to a point of power, when you get to a point of you have optimized your personal potential to the best that you can do it, and you're at a better position because you're still hot, you've done a lot with your physique. Yes, looks are important, but you've also built something of yourself. And again, it's not just about looks, it's not just about money, it's not just about game. It's all of that. And at what point in life do you have the most of that? And at what point in life do women need that the most from a guy? Those are things to consider. And remember that when you decide, like, let's just say for sake of example, you decide that you want to get committed to, you're going to commit to this girl. She's special, whatever. She's a quality girl, right? You get with her. Remember that at some point, if things work out like, forever after, she's going to go into menopause. She's going to put on weight. She's going to have a baby. Maybe she gives up. She's going to go through different phases where that ratio is offset. Unless she's a Fitness America pageant winner, right? Unless she is just like a gym rat for life, And I'm not saying that there aren't other things that make women valuable. There are things. I've told women this before. It's like, women, ladies, if you're watching this, you want to know why you're in such dire straits when you're in your 30s? Because you've done nothing to the concept is called value added. You've done nothing to add value to yourself beyond the sexual. So when women say, well, men just commodify us as sexual objects. Yeah, you're damn right. Because that's what attracts us and that's what arouses us to you. That's what gives you your innate agency, your power, and that declines and that decays. Wouldn't it be a good idea to figure out some other things that might make you, not just about your sex, that you just about sexuality, that make you valuable, value added? Most women don't even realize that because they're too self-absorbed right now. It's you go, girl. You don't need no man. Focus on your career. Don't worry about a family. Don't worry about this. That guy will be, Sheryl Sandberg says, that guy will be waiting for you when you're 29. Don't worry. He'll be an equal partner. The guy the unexciting guy, but he'll be there. That expectation. When you have that expectation and those entitlements, what motivation, what incentivizes you to develop anything beyond your sexual agency? What? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And this is the very first thing on the list. If Rich Cooper gives you a list of 6 things that might add value to you, some of them might be sexual, but anything that is like how to be more feminine, grow your hair long, do this, blah, blah, blah. It could be physical. It could be mental. It could be like learn to cook, right? Whatever it is. I don't know. Do something that adds value to you, a personal value to you that a guy might actually want to say, I want this in the long term. Show me you love me by cooking me a good meal. Make me shepherd's pie. My wife makes a good shepherd's pie. But what are you doing, ladies, that actually adds value to you in the long term? Your SMV is going to decay. Guys aren't just going to love you because of you. I just have this magical intrinsic lovability. No, you got to be able to show that. You have to find some way to be giving and be submissive and be, and show that you're, have something that's about you that is value added. If you want men to stop treating you as a sexual commodity, add some value to yourself. Stop treating yourself as a sexual commodity. Why is the number one career choice for women in 2020 OnlyFans? Because that's their only agency. That's the only thing that's monetizable, and women know this. And there's no woman that's more monetizable than when she's 23 years old. That's why. But if you're going to go through your entire life, ladies, and you're going to say, well, the guys should just want me. They should just love me. I'm a woman, damn it. I have everything. I got everything going for me. These guys can't live up to me. Bullshit. You don't have anything for them to live up to. You don't have anything that's a value added beyond your sexuality. So don't be surprised when guys think, oh, well, she's a hot piece of ass. I want to fuck her. Okay. Well, you want to get married. You want to have something else going. You want that guy. You want that alpha guy that's going to, first of all, take care of yourself, stay in shape, be sexually available, be into him, find a guy, find that 2-to-1 pairing. Now that's it for I'm going to talk about, I talked about the lady side of things here. Now I'm going to talk about the guy side of things here too. Is one of the things that I get criticized for, and I wanted to add this here where I tag this on right at the end of this, is the guys will say this. They'll say, Well, Rollo, are you saying that I need to get with a woman who's like beneath me? I don't want to get with a girl who's like this girl and that fat girl. I don't want a girl. I want I want a 3-to-1 pairing. God forbid. So I have to go for the girl who's ugly. I don't want to, I want the best, hottest piece of ass I can get with. Why wouldn't I? Right. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's perceptually. So the guy, because I think guys think of things in terms of, again, binary extremes. Like it's on or it's off. It's black or it's white. It's on, SMV is set in stone. It never changes. No, it does change. It fluctuates quite a bit over the years and over your conditions. You get fat, you drop. You get in shape, you increase. Same thing with women. We talk about the wall. Like when we say, well, when do women hit the wall? Oh, 32. Okay, maybe on average physically. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, remember, 70% of women are overweight. Women can hit the wall way before that because of up here and because of right here. A fat woman who's got a bad attitude, is got a bitchy and has, fuchsia hair and is just turns into militant, hardcore Antifa feminist. Yeah, you're going to hit the wall a lot earlier. There's variables that are going to push you that. Well, the same thing happens to guys. So if you're not maximizing your potential, and again, it takes longer for you to mature into that potential. If you're not maximizing your potential, and whatever that might be, right? Whether it might be money, that might be career, that might be ambition, that might be your physique, that might be whatever. Hopefully it's all of those things. But if you're not doing that, don't expect to be with the girl who has a perception of you as being one step above you. Hopefully women want to get with you, pre-selection, all that other good stuff. So what I'm saying is, first of all, remember that as women age and as conditions age, your SMV is going to fluctuate and her SMV is going to fluctuate. And in the long term, remember what I said from 23 to 70? Remember, women spend 50 to 60 years in a state of decline or in a state of just sort of stasis for the most part on average. But remember, that woman over the course of her life versus over the course of your life, that woman is going to need you more than you are going to need her. But the trick, the great grand design of this is to institute social conventions and emotional investments that convince you, that gaslight you to think it's the other way around. I would do anything for her, anything for love. Oh, it's this Shakespearean bullshit, right? It's, in book 4, it's the romantic ideal. Get guys to believe in the romantic ideal. Get them to believe that love is this ephemeral, mystical, magical thing rather than an emotion, right? A physical, like real cognitive emotion. Get them to believe in this divinity of these feelings, and that the woman is the divine feminine, and mysticize everything. And barring that, make sure that women get child support and divorce laws work for them, and the Duluth model of feminism and abortion and all this other stuff. Barring all that magical, mystical woo-woo shit, make sure that the laws make sure that even if the shit hits the fan, he still needs her more than she needs him. The reason why they're so obsessive about that to the societal level is because women know that over the course of the vast majority of their lives, assuming they live a good long life, they are going to need men more than men need them. So what do? Change the game, change society, make men need women more than women need men. That's the larger thing. And that is what I talk about in this book. Book 4 coming out. All right. I'm going to back up here a little bit. I'm sorry, everybody. Thank you I got lots of these to get to. Let me see if I can get to these. Spin Doctor, I see you. I need to back up. Giuseppe, yeah, okay, fine. We don't want to take away women's rights, whatever. Okay. Let's see. Spin Doctor, I got to you. Okay. I'll go back to Kareth. I got to you. Dean, I got to you. Red Pill Zach, I got to you. Alan Roger Curry, yeah, I got to you. Howard Coleman, would you say that a man in his mid-20s with a kid from an LTR has lower SMV? Yes, but not as low as a woman would. Because again, men and women are different. We're looking for different things. Men have an innate revulsion to commitments to raising another man's child. Okay, we have what's called a paternal instinct, and that paternal instinct is I don't want to get cuckolded. And when a woman says, "Well, I'm a single mother, and you should love me," and a real man wants a will date a single mother and bang a single mother and marry a single mother. Well, the reason why they say that is because they're trying to shame you into complying with their long-term hypergamous mating strategy, which eventually turns into a life strategy. Again, single women who have children, single mommies, need men more than men need them. They know this. That's why the social convention exists. Now, would a man in his mid-20s with a kid from an LTR has a lower? Yeah, but no. Maybe slightly, but I would argue this is that a guy who has a kid that he takes care of and he's in his mid-20s, so we'll say 25, right? It's mid-20s. So you're 25, you have a kid. In a sense, that also kind of makes you a proven commodity from the beta buck side, from the man with benefits side, from like, you want to know, this is a joke. I saw this meme that showed, the new Star Wars, right? It had Rey on there, and it's like she was supposed to be this badass, and this is what Disney thought that viewers of Star Wars wanted, or women wanted. They wanted the tough woman and the ass kicker and the Jedi woman and the warrior princess kind of crap, right? Like that. And then in the next frame, it's like what women really wanted, which was a space baby, which is in The Mandalorian. It's the little baby Yoda, like the maternal instinct, right? That's the little baby, right? And the reason why that's a popular show is because it follows. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but it's Lone Wolf and Cub. If you haven't read Lone Wolf and Cub, it's a really great graphic novel. It's a Japanese, it's a samurai, and he has to take care of his son, who is a little baby, basically. And it's almost mirrors very closely what's going on with The Mandalorian. But it's women want a guy who is a proven commodity, especially when it comes to parental investment. Does that mean that the girl's 23 wants to fuck you at 25 with a kid? Maybe not. But when you get a little bit older and women are interested in start to become more interested in long-term commitment, then because you have a kid and you're invested in that kid, that might make you even more attractive, because that's what they're looking for at that time. They're looking for the guy who's you got a kid, you're already doing it, you're doing what you hell, you've done a good job with it, whatever. So it might even make you more attractive. It's a disadvantage for women. It might be an advantage for men. That's my thinking. You can disagree if you'd like. Let's see, Gareth, I got to you. Why do I keep, because it keeps updating here. Ross Perel says, this is why young men should not marry too young, because you will have to pay her for youth at the time of divorce. Yes. That's the sexual market value imbalance. You went from, like, imagine this. Imagine and here's the thing is, like, I hear this and I use this as an example in the religion book. I'll hear guys who are religious guys who just can't believe their luck. It must be a God thing. Like God granted, like, this girl just showed up on my doorstep. I can't believe how lucky a guy I am, because look at me. I suck. I'm a schmuck. I'm a low value beta, and God smiled upon me and gave me this gorgeous model quality porn star wife. I can't believe it. This is great. Awesome. I don't know whether that's the reality or not. Guys who self-deprecate, they are confirming that imbalance. They are confirming at least a 2-to-1 balance in her favor, and women don't want that. Or in his favor, I should say. Like, she's well above my level. I can't believe a woman in her league would ever have anything to do with a guy like me. That's insults women. It insults them because women tag their self-worth to how well they married, the guy that they're with, the guy that they bred with, because of the existential fear. And when you say, no, I'm really not the best she could do, you're just confirming that she thought you were alpha. You're saying, nah, I'm really beta. Thank God for that. Thank God the Lord intervened and made you, tricked you. And now you're my bride. Hey guys, look how great she is. The little woman. Women hate that. That's insulting. That insults women's ego. Stop it. Stop doing that, religious guy. Stop calling her your bride. She's your wife. Damn it. She's my bride. No, she's going to lose SMV and you're going to gain SMV. You're going to be above her. I wouldn't even dream of introducing my wife like that. Oh yeah, she's a little woman. I'm a piece of shit. Love me more, baby. No. I did that one time. I was introducing my wife, and my daughter was there, and I was introducing to some people that she didn't know and that knew me, and they were like, I was introducing her, said, "This is my wife," blah blah blah, and I'd listened to some other guys introducing their wives too, and so I introduced my wife, and I said, "Yeah, she's lucky to have me," like that, and they busted up laughing, but like some of the women didn't take it, some of the men didn't take it kindly, but I did that in front of my daughter, and she kind of sniffed. She kind of laughed. She goes, "Yeah," but I did that because it's something you just got to get in the habit of. It's not like you're trying to keep the woman down. I crush her. It's funny because it's out of the ordinary. Because so many guys will do the same. They'll self-deprecate as a matter of like that's their game, right? That's a matter of course. Like she'll love me more if I lift her up more. Well, what you're doing is you're confirming that you are lower SMV than her. And when you do that, especially after you're married or after you're paired off with her, you're confirming that you are saying this, that you are not the best she can do. She could have done way better than me. That's a God thing. No, you're an idiot. You're a beta blue-pilled schmuck idiot. And what's funny is when you see guys do that, and I've seen this happen in like political guys and religious guys, the other women within earshot will go, "It's cringy." And guys are too stupid, or they think it's cute or whatever, and they ha ha. No, it's not ha ha. Let's see what else. My God, you guys, you're killing me. Stop. Okay, thank you for that one. Damn, how much did I get? What was that? Oh no, that was from yesterday. My bad. Somebody gave me yesterday 10,000 Japanese yen, and it was a red super chat, and I'm like, how much does that come out to? I don't know how much a yen is. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to get to every one of you guys. So can you do a show about single dads, and can you do early? Yeah, I will. Sebastian Ricci, how can a late bloomer still maximizing his SMV 38, finish law school, taking a break on bar, develop business in 2020 and another this year, no debt, low savings, and low credit score advice? Ugh. You know what, dude? I'm going to have to defer you to Rich Cooper in this sense. I don't really know just yet. So, I'm going to defer you to Rich for this one. All right, I hate to do that, but I'm kind of at the end of the time here. So, Ray Andrion says, "Roll, I'm 29, Filipino, single since birth, 5'10", 240 pounds. Ooh, no debt, 5-digit savings, no house yet, raking in money, working at Crown Core. What's next? Lose weight. 240 at 5'10". I can tell you right now, the most active thing you can do is lose weight. David Aruda says, "My divorce lawyer told me in every relationship or business transaction, the party with the least emotions wins." Yeah, well, it usually comes as who needs the least, who needs who the least. Arnold, again, I know a guy who used to get lots of. I know lots of guys who used to get hot cars at parties that end up dating a long-term chubby woman. Why does a guy do that? Usually because usually when it comes to like chubby women, like an imbalance guys have preferences for, it's usually because that guy at one point had sex with a fat chick and it worked out for him. It was preferable. Let's see. What else is here? How many points can a BDE add to your SMV? 7 to 9. Very funny. How many points can, let's see. Sorry about your mom. Thank you. Men in Church need your book 4. They do. And it's coming soon. Again, it's out for proof right now. It will be this week. If not tomorrow, it will be out. We're at the end of the show here. I will tell you it will be out this week. Let's just say that. If you follow me on Patreon, you'll know the exact date and you'll have a jump start on it. Drape Toman says, "Keep teaching us, Godfather. I saw that image and thought she's got the power over him. Suspect he doesn't understand his SMV." Yeah, probably. Or is still, he's probably conditioned to think that, to think like a woman, to think that that what he's doing is to his advantage. I mean, I'm not saying he's not in love with the girl. He probably is. But how did he get to that point? That's what I'm asking. Like, how do you go, yeah, I don't care if she's fat. How do you get past the arousal point? Because women don't. Women have a much higher standard of physical, like the higher standard of physical beauty for men than men will ever have for women. And the reason for that is because women are hypergamous and men are not hypergamous. Men are not hypogamous, okay? Men do not want to date down. In fact, that's the thing that offends a lot of guys is when I say that the best pairing you can get with a woman is to have her one step below you. They think that means I think you should get with a fat, ugly chick. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that perceptually, you need to be a step above her. That doesn't necessarily have to be physique. You don't have to get with an ugly. You can get with a woman who physically like looks better than you, is better shape than you, as long as perceptually she sees you as at least one step above her in sexual market value. Again, that can shift over time. Men do not seek out. They're not like that. You want to know why there's no such thing as hypogamy? It's because guys will, no one's ugly after 2 a.m. Yeah, sure. But guys don't seek that out by design. They just do it because out of necessity. So yeah, guys don't have an attraction floor, but that doesn't mean that they actively seek out women who are beneath them. They want the centerfold, man. They want the girl who's hot. They want the girl who's hitting. So that kind of defeats the idea, which is, men look for women who are beneath them. No, they don't. They're looking for, like physically especially, they're looking for somebody who is definitely, I mean, we make comparisons, but only women are hypergamous. And hypogamy is bullshit. It's a cope in a big way. Javier Castillo says, hola, Rollo. You changed my life. I'm 39 and completely a different person. Thank you. Oh, good. Show me what you did. Show me the receipts. I have 2 brothers in their 30s, both single, professional, handsome, and tall. I think you meant 6 feet. I'm 5'4". They don't get what I can do to help them. I need a translation of The Rational Male in Spanish. It's on the works, actually. I've got some people who've hit me up. Now that the book 4 is done, I'm focusing on translation. So and Spanish is at the top of that list. So there's your good news. Tony Pajamas, if you make an approach, get rejected, does it matter how you take the rejection? Yes. And what you say after being rejected? Yes, it does. Of course it does. How you're taking that? Well, I mean, you can take it in however you want to take it, right? Remember, you can't control other people's behavior. You can control your own. I think one of the best ways to deal with rejection is to call it out as a rejection. Like, okay, well, you're not into guys like me. All right, whatever. No, thanks. I got enough friends. Like you get a let's just be friends thing. Oh, okay. I got enough friends. Thanks. Yeah. Let it roll off of you. You got to be Teflon. As a man, I'll tell you this right now. I need to do an episode where it's like I'll give you advice as to like what you can expect, at least as a man. I'm not going to say, oh, here's how you be a man. I will say these are things you can expect as a man. And one of those things is rejection. You will deal with rejection way more than any woman will ever deal with rejection. Whether that's in family or business or military or personal with chicks and everything, you will deal with rejection way more because you are expected to be the initiator. That's just how it is. Get used to it. Oh, Giuseppe, can you clarify, please? What do you think about the women's becoming CEOs, businesswomen, and success-driven women? Great, they can do whatever the fuck they want, Giuseppe. I know it's not conventionally feminine, but at the same time, I do believe in fairness and opportunity. Thank you. Well, good. Good for you. I'm glad you still believe in the egalitarian equalism and in Disney fantasies and fairy tales. I think that women should do whatever the fuck they want to do. If they want to vote, if they insist on having the same rights and privileges as men, if they insist on, the blank slate and egalitarian equalism, like you say, whatever, great. Just don't make men responsible and liable for the choices that you have. Don't make men like you want. I can show you in no uncertain terms how there is a separate standard of justice for women, and I mean that in the legal sense and punishment and everything else, but also in the real world. Men are expected to pay for women's way. They are expected to be liable for the decisions that men make, whether that's retroactively or proactively. You want women to be CEOs? Great. You pay the price for that. Don't expect men to pay the price for that. Don't blame it on men. When you're a CEO and you can't find Mr. Right, guess what? You made your choices, and those are the decisions, and that's where you're at right now, honey. And don't expect a guy to say, "Oh well, I should be more attracted to you because you're a CEO." Bullshit. That's not what guys are. Men and women are different. We're not blank slates. The blank slate right now only really works in favor of women. Social constructionism only works in favor of women. That's why we can't let go of it, because if we kick out the legs of the blank slate and social constructionism, everything collapses. Everything falls apart. RJ, thank you for everything you do. Channel 1800 Dumb says, Rollo GBU, is your book still finished? Any ETA? I already said it's coming out this week. RJ says, thanks for everything you do. I'd be curious to get your take on some couple Chicago studies that conclude frequent churchgoers have better, more frequent sex. I would be interested in seeing that, because I've also seen studies that show that 68% of church-going men are addicted to pornography. So as you'll see in book 4, I'll look it up. I promise you I'll look it up. Thanks for that $50, RJ. Josh Jericho, Foam Cannon Facts. Thank you, Godfather. You are welcome. Lucas Blythe. Hey, man, I've been following you on Twitter, Lucas. Who has a higher SMV if you both are hot 8s and both are 28 years old, but you are earning less than her? However, she sees a lot of potential in you. Well, that means that you, right then and there, she's probably one step above you, because the power differential is in her favor for the time being. When she hits the epiphany phase and she recognizes that she's not going to be in the same position to compete intrasexually, and things change for her, that differential will change. And I will guarantee you it will change. Also, the perception of that girl saying, oh, you've got potential. She's already saying that you will probably, she's predicting, she's betting that you will have a higher SMV than her in the future. That's actually good news, because she recognizes that she's probably going to be lower than you, but she says, oh, you got potential. Good. You should. Men have more potential than women, by and large, have more potential. Personal, successful potential. Just biologically we do, because we have options and opportunities that come to men just because we're not women, because we don't have periods, because we don't give you wouldn't have babies, right? We're not the incubators of the next generation. Can women change? Yeah, they try all the time. We try to medically induce this or technologically get around that. But for by and large, if we're talking about the entirety of humanity, men have more opportunity and more potential than women do. It takes us longer to get to it, but men burn hot but slow, and women burn bright and fast. That's it. Spin Doctor, $5. Thanks for that. Red Dwarf, what if the single mom's kids are 25 years old? Are 25 years plus? Well, sounds like you're in an older situation. Remember, SMV doesn't change just because you're 60 years old. The perceptions of it don't change. Women are always keenly aware. Why do old women in their 80s put on makeup and lipstick to the day they die? Why? Habit? Yeah, but what's the habit based on? What's that rooted on? It's rooted on the fact that women understand sexual market value potential. I think women understand sexual market potential and value way better than men do. In fact, men are afraid to even say that girl's a 10, that girl's an 8. Because they know they'll get punished for it. I saw a story one time about these high school kids who had made a list of all the girls that were in their class or in their school, and they said, this girl's a 6, this girl's an 8, this girl's a 4 or 5 or whatever, and they got expelled for that. Yet women will create apps that rate men. I think there's one called Lulu or something like that, or whatever it is. It's like the guy who like is this hot or not kind of thing. It's okay for women to rate men, but it's not okay for men to rate women, because it upsets the power differential, because women need those guys to be young and stupid when the time is right. And if they're busy making qualitative and quantitative measurements of women, that's not conducive to a gynocentric society. Therefore, we have to crush that out of young men. So when guys say, Sally's a 6 and Betty's a 9, we have to stop that. But if women women will literally make apps that will rate the date, rate the man, rate this guy. I'm saying men don't do this too, but we're shamed for that. We're assholes. We're chauvinists, misogynistic sons of bitches for doing that. But women, because it's in their interest to do that, we reinforce that. Good job. Let's see. Assange, any plans for men 20 to 30 to increase their SMV? Build muscle, make money, learn game. That's how you do that. Here's one. I know that's sort of the default answer. Here's another one, Assange. Have an ambition, have a purpose, and drive towards that. Go for it. Even if that you don't end up there, at least you have the ambition. Have a plan. Start working on a plan and go for that plan. Be single-minded about it. Resist the lure of easing up on your focus. Dragoon says, have you discussed how certain disabilities affect your SMV and sexual dynamics? Yes, I have. In fact, I think I talked to Josh about this. Josh is I think he's paraplegic. We've talked about that before. Yes. Sam Whiskey, Pierce Brosnan lost his 007 gig because his wife got fat. Okay. Japanese yen. Thank you. Oh man, I made almost $100 off of that. Thank you for the conversion there, Sambata. Samus Sahaku says, Happy New Year, Rollo. Keep up the awesomeness. Okay, I will. Dragoon says, can you create a video on what men cannot afford to leave a marriage due to various reasons should do with their marriage? Noted. Maybe I'll do an Awakened While Married episode. I think that would be a good one. Armando Moreno, Rollo, will you be doing a book tour for religion? Yes, it's already in the works. I'm going to start in Miami, as a matter of fact, at the end of this month. I'm going to go out and see Myron Gaines, and I'm going to be live in studio with him. Also, Hotep Jesus is also going to be on that show, or at least one of those shows. I'm supposed to meet up with Hotep Jesus then. So that's coming up at the end of this month. I will be in Vegas, by the way, this next weekend, so I may not be doing a live show this weekend because I will be in Vegas. It depends on when I get back. I have to go to Vegas actually for my real job this time. So I go to Vegas at least once a year, more likely like 6 or 7 times a year. But since 2020 was COVID year, I didn't do much in Vegas. I think I went to Vegas like 3 times, 3 times. So I will be in Vegas next weekend. And then if I can, I might do a live stream from my hotel room or something like that. I might do a live remote thing. But I will be in Vegas. I don't know if I'll be on Wednesday. I think I might. I don't think I'm leaving until Thursday. So I'll be on Wednesday's show. Then last but not least, Simon says, Rollo, can you talk about girls' SMV in STEM? I have talked. I'll consider it. I can't do it right now, but I'll consider it. I think, who was it? Aaron Clary has talked about that. So, okay, guys, I will talk to you later. I will see you on Wednesday, and that is it for me. Bye-bye.